Plus TV Africa. I am Udoka Njoko.
Hi everyone, welcome to Plus Training.
You cannot continue to recycle poverty while you're spending a lot of money on unproductive ventures.
The government has to feel the impact.
Honorable Commissioner, sir, welcome to the show.
Welcome back, and it's time for more highlights right here on Tea Time, a roundup. Go ahead and take a look at this next set of clips. So, if it was the latest, it's like you have an update well, the latest, yes, on
Blac Chyna, you mean?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. So Blac Chyna got into Harvard Business School.
Online version. I'm just trying to give our viewers the right.
Enemies of progress. These people
Hold on, Elsie.
These are the people that used to make somebody type in tongues. They can type in tongues against you.
Hold on,
That's
Elsie.
how they said. She's now a Harvard student, and then online version. So I'm just trying to do what they did, like to let you know the version, not like she applied, like you know.
But if I knows that,
it's still Harvard. I'm not saying it's easy. I didn't knock her hustle in any way. I just gave out an information.
Oh, so you say you're not knocking her at all?
No.
Oh, you're quite impressed.
Yeah.
That what?
She's
doing an 8-week course.
She got into Harvard without making rowing.
Yeah, but that's not a degree, though. That's not a degree course.
What?
That's not a degree course.
It's Harvard Business School.
It's a professional course, right?
It's a professional course.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. So how much? They don't look at the, for a professional course, the criteria is not that hard. That's what I'm saying. And then let's not forget, I think some time back. No, let's not give her any accolade because, guys, you know what? I think it was Tyra Banks. Tyra Banks did something like this where she did the course, and at the time she didn't even tell anybody. She just finished the course, and then when she finished, she I think it was like an 8-week or 3-month course. Hold on. Yeah.
Blac Chyna.
No, hold on now. I'm trying to make a point.
Baby mama extraordinary.
Guys. Anyway,
Whitenicious Blac Chyna.
Hold on. So my point is, like, when Tyra Banks finished, and she now told in fact, she didn't tell people that she had finished. She started telling everyone that she's also a graduate of Harvard, blah blah blah. And then people started complaining that no, you're not a graduate, you didn't finish, she should stop telling people that. And she got backlash, and she actually had to retract her statements, So, and I have a feeling that
the same thing
she's going to have some kind of backlash eventually, because the impression she's giving us is that she actually got into Harvard.
The beauty of this is because it's there that it's online. The letter is also there, so I don't think, unless maybe after the program, she now comes out to say, I actually attended Harvard. Do you get that? Maybe that's when people backlash.
I mean, let's not even go as far as thinking of Tyra Banks. There are so many businessmen and professionals in this country that did this online course, and once you see them and their CV, they'll raise their shoulder and tell you, we went to Harvard Business School.
Well, it's not the same thing, is it?
Well,
because it's so misleading. That's what I'm saying.
The same exam.
No, not really. No, at the end of it, exactly. Thank you. I mean, for someone who gets a degree and someone who gets a PhD, you commend, yes. And like you said, yes, I can see that. Okay, like if I was saying a baby mama, blah blah blah, and someone in
I didn't say baby mama. She said baby mama
extraordinary.
Okay, sorry, what?
See, look at Kim, look at Blac Chyna, and for those that are their die-hard fans, following their life step by step, I think they should also take a cue for this one. From this.
Do you know what? Now that you actually say that, Elsie,
just pick up a call.
Yes, I think she's actually taking. They said it's. I think that it's in vogue actually to go back to school, and I think Kim K started it, and I think she's picked up from it.
I'm saying their
Why
fans
is
should pick
everybody
up
trying
from
to
it
compare this to Kim Kardashian, though?
Well, she kind of did it first. Those in their level of not knowing what they're famous for, but they're rich.
Let's say maybe Amber Rose too will become a doctor or something. Then now, no, that is.
Doctor of what exactly?
Oops.
Okay.
Kanye West
wanting to start his own church after 50,000 people attended his Sunday service.
Jesus was
God show me the way because the devil trying to break me down.
Okay, I see the church members already. Okay, so do you think this will fly?
Kanye West as a pastor, I mean, he did say that it's not in a traditional sense, that there won't be hymns and a sermon. But I think, I don't know how to be not biased about this because me and religion were fighting, but it just,
Elaborate when you say you're in religion, you're fighting.
just the whole thing of like man taking church into their hands and doing whatever they want. You know, I have big issues with that. So it's already giving me that vibe as well. Like this is someone adding Jesus, adding spirituality to it. But it's he did say he wants to share his faith through Jesus Christ to heal the broken hearts.
Ife has a contrary.
Did he say through Jesus Christ?
He did mention Jesus Christ.
Okay, so if he's saying through Jesus Christ, he has songs like Jesus Walks. People like Chance the Rapper, even though they're secular musicians, they also have very spiritual songs that involve Jesus Christ, right? And he's saying his faith as well, especially sharing his experiences, the things he has been through. Now, if you were at an event where over 500, was it 500,000? 50,000. Okay, yeah. 50,000 people showed up just to listen to your music, your craft, and they appreciated every bit of it. Then you would know that you have the audience to actually touch lives, share experiences, share through music, through faith, through Christ.
But you see, the thing is, when you start to cross the line between entertainment and religion, trouble enters.
No, that's not crossing
But
the line.
my question is, do you think it is sustainable? Because he's doing it
Very,
now.
because it has already become like a tradition in Los Angeles already.
Would you call it a
Where
tradition?
the
It's only
Sunday
happened
service-
like 4 times, though.
Yeah, that's why I said it's becoming a tradition.
Right.
It is becoming, not like it has become. Okay, let me put it that way. It is becoming a tradition because now you find a lot of celebrities flying in from different cities in America just to attend Kanye West Sunday service. So it is gradually becoming a tradition. Like people want to go there, people want to express their feelings through music, to see him using the choir.
Kanye West
Or
perform.
attend,
Is it the same
not
thing
to see him
as-
perform, to attend the Sunday service.
Yeah, Sunday service doesn't necessarily mean it's religious, though.
Yeah, but this is not necessarily, I don't know, you are the one that wants to put the religion with it.
Sustainability. Because coming into this concert, I'm not very sure right now, correct me if I'm wrong, do they have to pay? It's free,
Yeah.
right? So do they have to pay?
Not, you know.
So if he's going to do this continuously every Sunday, are we going to see something like offering or donations or just supporting the movement, or he's just going to keep spending money and then his number of choirs and all?
I mean, we don't have any
sustainable?
logistics on like what the admin side will be. All we know, or all that he's mentioned to us, is that he has a heart for healing people, right? And he himself, and even in his history, you see he's battled with mental whatevers and all that breakdown and all that stuff.
Car crash.
Yeah, you can see that the guy has a good heart. But we don't know how alternative this church will be in comparison to what the traditional setting of church will. We don't really know. We don't know if he's going to ask. But you're right, though, because if you want to start doing this on a consecutive basis, then money will have to get involved. Like, how are you going to maintain, you know,
The venue, the
equipment, the people that are paying.
manpower.
I guess he's balling like that. We'll see.
Maybe he has enough to do all that. I don't know. And I think his
I don't
family
think
is
we should be
right
worried
now.
about how they're going to get their resources because this is Kanye West.
I guess
He's
so.
married to the Kardashians.
So they have
to one of
unlimited
the-
resources.
It's not,
Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm not saying unlimited, but I'm saying that at the end of the day, even if you put a gate fee, people would still attend.
Then is this still a church?
It isn't like, I don't know why you guys are making it like it's a proper, like you said, it's not going to be your convention. It was true music.
It could not be
Do you
conventional,
know-
but yeah, he's
Wait,
healing souls.
do you know that some people actually get better when they listen to music? They could feel down right now.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
I think
agree.
the biggest problem with this thing is that it's not very straightforward. If you call it a church, but you're going very south, how far south do you go that is still considered a church?
And that concludes our roundup of Tea Time clips from this week. For fresh episodes of the actual program Tea Time, watch us every weekday at 10:30 a.m. and 4:30 p.m. for morning and afternoon tea times, respectively. Until then, I remain Tokumbo Taiwo, saying, as always, happy Sunday.
Is it for upcoming artists to blow in Nigeria?
Welcome to Plus Trending. I am Buki November, your host, saying thank you for joining us on today's episode.
Welcome back. It's Tea Time on Plus TV Africa.
Practice makes perfect. I'm not perfect yet, but I'm a lot better than I used to be.
He's a king. He's entitled to marry 100 if he wants to.
Hello and many thanks for joining us on News on the Hour on Plus TV Africa. My name is Felicity Ezewike. President Muhammadu Buhari can govern the country from anywhere in the world so long as his absence is for a short period and does not need to inform the National Assembly. The senior special assistant to the president on media and publicity, Garba Shehu, who made the assertion in response to an inquiry on the issue, further referenced Section 145, subsection 12 of the 1999 Constitution to make a defense for Buhari. According to him, Buhari was still exercising authority as the president while in the UK, since his absence would be for 10 days and not up to 21 days, which would then have constituted a breach of the Constitution. The president left the country on Thursday last week in what the presidency described as a private visit. Normalcy has returned to Gombe State and its environs after the imposition of a 15-hour curfew in the city by the state government in response to the prevailing security situation in the area. The state government had imposed the curfew on the city on April 27 at about 3 p.m. It, however, relaxed the order on Sunday after due consultation with the security agencies in the state. On April 22, a vehicle killed 10 members of the Boys Brigade during Easter procession in the metropolis, while 30 others sustained various degrees of injury. On April 27, when the bodies of the victims were being taken for burial, the city became tense as some youth threatened a retaliation, hence throwing the town into confusion. Former Inspector General of Police Suleiman Arase has alluded to the fact that hundreds of additional policemen will be needed to implement and sustain the new 8-hour shift work ordered by the Acting Inspector General of Police, Mohammed Adamu. According to the ex-police chief, the new shift work arrangement might need additional manpower to succeed. He opined that about 300,000 officers might have to be recruited for the 8-hour shift. The acting IGP had recently attributed the misuse of firearms and extrajudicial killings by police to work-related stress and emotional condition. Joining us to review the state of security in the country and the new police shift is Dennis Amakre, a former director of the State Secret Service, current DSS. Thank you very much for coming on the news.
Well, you're welcome.
What do you make of the seeming increasing insecurity, killings and kidnapping across the country?
Well, I think we are seeing the results of an accumulated problem that has not been addressed for a very long time. The level of unemployment, the level of poverty, especially in the north, especially in the northeast and the northwest, has come to the head whereby some of these should I call them alamajiris and other kinds of people that were not going to school have decided to stop begging and pick up arms to get their own piece of the national cake, so to say. You know, so the kidnapping is really, really going on because you see a society, you know, which is, a disparity is very, very wide. And while some people are so poor, don't have a meal to eat in a day, then you see somebody driving around with a $75,000 vehicle. So these are the kinds of things that we're experiencing now. And I think it has to be addressed quickly.
You mentioned the situation in the northern part of the country.
Yes.
There seemed to be a peculiar security situation in select states of Gombe, Zamfara, Kaduna, and Borno. Can you speak on this? What could be the peculiarity of the security situation, and are the security agencies addressing the issue as it should?
Well, Zamfara is a state that is, should I say, is an ungoverned state. You know, there are a lot of ungoverned spaces in this country. And then, of course, that is ungoverned spaces in the sense that you don't have any presence of security around. And a lot of people are just running around using all kinds of arms and ammunition they can get hold on. And, of course, the mining that has been going on, especially in Zamfara, where people are cutting away gold, very, very expensive minerals, you know, out of the country. And they feel that they have to take part in this collection of tolls, because for those people who are taking them out, if you are passing through, you have to pay toll, otherwise you don't go anywhere. You know, and then of course they know that there's a lot of money that is going out of the place, and the cartels are there to sometimes even take off from other people that have mined it. You go to Borno, of course we have the Boko Haram situation there, and it's been very, very, for 9 years now, we've been fighting that, and then you find out that poverty and grown-up, able-bodied men without jobs, you know, as they say, is the devil's workshop. So those people are there. Kaduna, you will have the community clashes that are going on there. People have been displaced in their own country. And then a lack of government intervention, whereby you see today they will put some kind of curfew, and then tomorrow they remove it, and then life goes on and then until another attack.
Yeah, that brings me to the situation in Gombe.
Yes.
The curfew was imposed not only on Gombe, I think Kaduna as well.
Kaduna too, yes.
And then it was lifted about 24 hours after. Do you think that that was the right call to make as at that time, or maybe it could have been extended to review the situation on the ground before such a call is made?
I think that that kind of situation where you impose curfews, curfews are basically imposed to mop up, you know, whatever criminal activities that are going on, especially at night. But 24 hours, yeah, they might be able to pursue some of the criminals out of the place, but in the short term, you know, in the long term, it does not solve any problem. It will not, you know, because these people are still there. And as soon as they see that the security agents are relaxed, they come back again and hit. So I don't think that's the right strategy to use.
All right, so the acting IGP recently attributed, it's been in the news actually, attributed the misuse of firearms by officers to emotional stress and even, or maybe psychological imbalance or something affecting their rationale, and even ordered that an 8-hour shift be the thing that should be done to, you know, enhance their effectiveness and reduce cases of accidental discharge of, do you think that is right?
I
or
think
do you agree? Let's rephrase the question.
I don't fully agree with him. I don't fully agree with him because it's a situation where you are asking them, yes, 8-hour shifts is fantastic, you know, because they are overstretched and they work, you know, And some of them, because of the stress and emotional trauma they have, they end up with drinking alcohol or smoking some kind of narcotics or whatever, which might induce them to use their firearms anyhow they like. Now, those firearms, are not well handled. There is not proper handling of those firearms, whereby most of them have not been to the range, because you have to teach people how to really handle these firearms. They might have been to the range, and that's why it is very necessary that every 6 months, anybody that handles firearms should go to the range, shooting range, to practice. It's not a situation where you say it's accidental discharge.
Do you think this is being done? Do we have the capacity?
I don't think it's being done. That's what I'm saying. I don't think it's being done, because anybody who is well trained to handle firearms will not have an accidental discharge, or will not shoot somebody anyhow, because that gun is, there's respect for those who handle arms properly.
Well, he also said that fatigue was part of it, and that's why the 8-hour shift became
there
necessary.
could be fatigue, but
will this address
the 8-hour shift, just like the former IG had said, will not be. They will not be able to achieve that with the number they have. The Nigerian police force is about just a little bit less than 400,000. In the whole in our whole country of 200 million, almost 200 million people. So you find that's why we have ungoverned spaces. The security or the law enforcement agents are thinly spread. They are not covering everywhere, So most of them have been assigned to politicians. Most of them are assigned to some high net worth individuals. You see them in banks. So the number that is actually on ground to do criminal justice system is not much. So I think they have to recruit, because this number is not enough for them to carry out that.
Your quick thoughts on the suggestion that stun guns should be used for intercity police officers?
Stun guns are good, non-lethal. Those are non-lethal weapons, but also you must train people to use them. You must train people to use them. It is not a situation where I will discharge some volts of electricity into somebody and throw him down on the ground. And if you don't do it properly, the person can sue you, because you don't go ahead and use or try it on people. Because, like I said, training is key. If you don't train somebody to handle any kind of weapon, the person will not, they will misuse it.
Before I let you go, Nigerian security agencies have been accused of being deficient when it comes to intelligence gathering, which is key to solving crimes. What's your thought on this? Well, I disagree. I'm from the intelligence community myself, and I think a lot of intelligence are being gathered in this country and being disseminated. But again, there is one thing with intelligence, of which I have personal experience, where I can gather intelligence, and if you are the consumer and I give you the intelligence, it depends on you on how you use it, You can decide to use it, and you can decide to discard it, and you can discard it for many reasons, especially to politicians. You give intelligence to politicians, sometimes they use it, sometimes they don't want to use it because of political reasons or religious reasons. So, if there is a lack of usage of intelligence, it's not because of a lack of intelligence itself. Thank you very much, sir, for coming on the news. Thank you for having me. We'll take a short break now, and when we come back, the news continues. Just stay with us.
You global star, you local rapper, you go down low. You swag, you go blow.
Yeah, making an Afrobeat.
You bring the heat, you boom, boom. You the coolest kid in Africa. You shocky, you dab, you hustle. You the voice of the streets. You Afrobeat.
You're watching News on the Hour on Plus TV Africa. A top opposition leader on Saturday called for Sudan to join the International Criminal Court, which has indicted its ousted president Umar al-Bashir, as protesters and the military met to discuss the civilian rule. Sadiq al-Mahdi, a former prime minister and head of the opposition National Umar Party that has backed the protest, also told reporters that the army's ouster of Bashir was not a military coup. His comments came as a joint committee representing the ruling military leadership and protesters held their first meeting to discuss a demand by demonstrators for a handover to civilian rule. Bashir was ousted by the army on April 11 after months-long protests that rocked his 3-decade-old rule. The news continues after the short break.
Honey!
Daddy, please, can I go out with you and Mommy tonight?
Sure thing, sweetie. Get your shoes and we go.
Promise?
You have my word?
Daddy!
You know I wouldn't leave without you, my princess.
There's nothing more important than a promise. We are Fidelity. We keep our word.
Roman Catholic churches Sunday locked their doors to the public amid tight security in Colombo as the country reels from last week's string of bomb attacks that killed over 250 people. Roman Catholics in the country were advised not to carry out any religious activities in their churches in light of the attacks that hit 3 hotels and 4 churches. Father Chadana Pereira of St. Teresa's Church told Reuters in the empty church in central Colombo that it was hard to see how empty the church was, adding, "It is so sad that this kind of disaster had happened because of religion." Sri Lanka has been on high alert since the attacks on Easter Sunday, with nearly 10,000 soldiers deployed across the island to carry out searches and hunt down members of 2 local Islamist groups believed to have carried out the attack. Authorities have detained over 100 people since the bombings in 3 churches and 4 hotels, most of which were in the capital.
It's really hard to see this empty church. Because from the time I came, I took up this parish. My aim was to bring more people to worship God here and help them, to give them a better atmosphere to be with God in this house of God. Death should be answered by religion. There should be some tangible answer for it. Not that religion should cause death. It's so sad that this kind of disasters had happened due to a religion, because of religion.
We are here. We are God with us, Lord Jesus with us, and we are there, and we are showing our deepest sympathy for the who passed away from the bombs, and we are there for them.
Actually, I came out of my home after 1 week, so I think we shouldn't get afraid of the terrorists and all these things.
Yeah, actually, we are taking precautions to ensure that we ensure that the church is safeguarded, the members are safeguarded, and people who are coming to worship today are safe and they feel safe. And of course, we have to start taking preventive controls going forward to ensure that until things fall into place, that we have to do certain things which we were not expected to be doing after the war ended in 2009.
U.S. President Donald Trump pressed Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe to have Japanese automakers produce more vehicles in the United States, according to a readout of their recent meeting. provided by the U.S. ambassador to Japan on Saturday. The two discussed recent public announcements by Japanese car makers, including Toyota Motor Corporation's decision to invest more in U.S. plants. Trump told the campaign rally in Green Bay, Wisconsin on Saturday that Abe said Japan would invest $40 billion in U.S. car factories, though Trump did not give details on the timeline for the planned investments. The ambassador also added that Trump is optimistic trade talks with China would be successful.
Many decades we've been losing tens of billions of dollars to China and Japan and India and name any country, and we lost. But we're not losing anymore. And I said, listen, we got to do something. $68 billion in trade losses over the last 4 or 5 years, a year. So we're renegotiating. And I think he'll be fair. I think he'll be fair. And by the way, he started by saying that he's putting $40 billion into the United States for new car factories. Toyota's coming in with $14 billion. Many companies are coming in. And they're coming in, frankly, to Michigan. They're coming back. They want to be back to Ohio, to Pennsylvania, to North Carolina, South Carolina, Florida, and what's the name of this special place? It's called Wisconsin.
Up next is our business news. Fidelity Bank PLC recorded its highest profit before tax after 2018 financial year. The financial institution held its annual general meeting in Lagos. Irene Ubani files in this report.
The 31st annual general meeting of Fidelity Bank PLC, which held in Lagos, brought together board of directors, shareholders, amongst others. The AGM, which commenced with the national anthem, was declared open by the chairman of the board, Ernest Ebi.
In accordance with the provisions of Section 345 of the Companies and Allied Matters Act 2004, I hereby lay the audited financials of the company for the financial year ended December 31st, 2018, before the shareholders.
In his statement, the financial institution had recorded its highest profit before tax in its history from 19 billion naira in 2017 to 25 billion naira in 2018. Representatives of the auditing firms were present to present the auditor's report for the financial year ended December 31st, 2018.
We have fulfilled our other ethical responsibilities in accordance with the ISBAC Code and CAMA applicable to performing the audit of Fidelity Bank PLC.
On the basis of our review, except as noted below, the bank's corporate governance practices are largely in compliance with the key provisions of the CBN Code.
Shareholders were given the opportunity to air their views of the bank's performance and dividend payment.
I have there unclaimed dividends standing at 2.7 billion naira. Yes, I know that unclaimed dividends will arise because people who have put their money in the bank haven't come forward to claim their dividend. I'm happy that Patrick talked about asking the bank to give him a better interest. If I find that the yield that you are going to give me will not be as good as what somebody else is going to give me. There's one bad thing about money. Money looks for the best return.
Concerns by shareholders were addressed by the managing director and the chairman of the board.
Number one, we thank you for your understanding concerning dividend payment. Number two, we want you to remember that Fidelity Bank, without fail, in the last 12 years, we have paid dividend consistently.
The chairman also shared the 5-year strategy plan of the bank and addressed issues around increased dividend payment.
This board is focused on corporate governance, on risk management, and then the capital, to build solid capital for the bank.
Votes were also cast during the course of the meeting. Plus TV Africa spoke with the chairman of the board on expectations in the second quarter for the bank.
We are ramping up our digital banking, which is contributing significantly in our bottom line. We're also managing our risk assets very, very conservatively to ensure that there are no asset deterioration in our books. And also, we are deepening our retail banking and our SMEs, and also scaling up in terms of training and resourcing the various departments to do this work. We are doing that.
We had said we'll grow loans between 7.5 to 9%. Our full year targeted PBT is 30 billion. As at first quarter, we've done 6.7 billion. That gives indication that we're actually on course. We have also projected to continue to reduce the ratio between our low-cost deposits and high-cost deposits. And what do I mean? We want low-cost deposits to account for about 85% of our total deposit.
Aku Odikemulu spoke on the bank's performance.
If we compare where we are coming from and where we are with this last performance, is very commendable, and we are also geared up to do a lot more.
For Plus TV Africa, Irene Ubani.
Still ahead on Plus TV Africa News is our roundup on entertainment and sports.
Which kind wire you gon' need to light up your light? Oh man, the quality wire. Now which kind cable you gon' need to light up your house? Oh man, the quality cable. Coleman quality. Coleman wire. Coleman durable. Coleman cable. Coleman tank. Coleman cable for any kind of project. Coleman be the come and see. Come and be the Coleman won't light up your light. Come and be the come and see. Come and be the COLEMAN. Quality, quality. Durable. Now come and be the Baba.
For upcoming artists to blow in Nigeria.
Welcome to Plus Trending. I am Buki November, your host, saying thank you for joining us on today's episode.
Welcome back. It's tea time on Plus TV Africa.
Practice makes perfect. I'm not perfect yet, but I'm a lot better than I used to be.
He's a king. He's entitled to marry 100 if he wants to.
Robert Kelly, popularly known as R. Kelly, has claimed a learning disability prevented him from reading court documents in his alleged criminal sexual abuse case. The Ignition hitmaker was served in his civil case in which Heather Williams alleges he sexually abused her when she was 16. Earlier this week, Heather won a default judgment against Kelly when he failed to appear for a hearing in court. His lawyers have claimed that Kelly had no idea what the 7 papers were about and therefore didn't take the appropriate steps to defend himself because of a learning disability that prevented him from being able to read. Music star Davido is going to make an appearance on Nick Cannon's hugely popular show, Wild 'N Out. Davido is billed to make a guest appearance on the 14th of May. The singer took to his Instagram page to share the good news with the caption, "Grew up watching this show, about to be a star in it." Congratulations to him, and that's it on entertainment. Sports is up next. Kawhi Leonard's 45 points steered the Toronto Raptors to a 108-95 points win over the Philadelphia 76ers in Game 1 of their Eastern Conference semi-final playoff tie. It was a career playoff high for the Toronto Raptors superstar and tied for the most he'd scored in any game in his NBA career. Meanwhile, the Denver Nuggets edged San Antonio Spurs 90-86 points in Game 7 to seal a semi-final spot against the Portland Trail Blazers in the Western Conference. Arsenal's quest for a top 4 finish in the Premier League suffered a huge blow as they lost 3-0 to Leicester City at the King Power Stadium. 3 second-half goals, including a Jamie Vardy brace, condemned Arsenal to a third successive league defeat. The result leaves the Gunners a point below fourth-placed Chelsea, who took on Manchester United at Old Trafford later today. And that's it in sports, and wrap things up at this hour. For more news updates, please follow us at Plus TV Africa on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. You can also subscribe to our YouTube channel. That's also at Plus TV Africa. I'll be back later with more stories making the headlines. Do please join us again. Thank you for watching.
Welcome to another episode of Africa on the Move in partnership with DW. My name is Humayuna Ajife. Today's episode will be focusing on entertainment across the continent, from drumming, singing, dancing, and rap. We start with Huguette, a female drummer from Congo who has been practicing drums for 15 years.
Huguette Tolinga loves music more than anything, especially her drums. For 15 years, the 22-year-old has been practicing whenever she can and playing wherever she goes. When I play, it's like climbing up somewhere high. But in the end, I find myself still on the ground. The percussionist lives in Kalamu district, where she rehearses with her band Ugembo in front of an audience of local youngsters. In Congo, drumming is a predominantly male pursuit, so Tolinga had to learn everything on her own, mostly by watching other musicians play. There was always conflict within her family. For this reason, she left the family home at the age of 19. At first, it was really difficult. It was not easy to get my family to accept what I'm doing here. But acceptance has come, from her family as well as from the men in the local drumming scene. Normally I play with men. Huguette is different from other women. She's just great. For me, it's amazing. Not strange, but amazing. She's an extraordinary girl. Andre Yoka is a music professor at the National Institute of Arts. He explains that the drum is a sacred object for the Congolese people. The female image is also fetishized, he says, so bringing the two together can be seen as problematic. The woman is a fetish. When you go to war, do not touch women. When you go fishing, do not touch women. When you go hunting, you must not touch women. If you touch women, you lose. And so the woman is also an object of taboo, and two objects of taboo cannot be together. But Tolinga does not want to give up her dream. She encourages other women to join her, regularly meeting to play music spontaneously. Young people from the area watch her with interest. Tolinga is now well known in Kinshasa, but she still has problems. The 22-year-old is still looking for a producer to support her, so far without success. but she is determined. One day, I'm going to open up a cultural centre to train other artists. Tolinga is already a role model for many girls. Now she wants to get to the top and become a big star in the Congo.
From the drummer in Congo, we go to a self-taught drummer in Kenya who learned his ancestral sound from his grandmother.
When John Rapasa Otieno was a child, he learned the centuries-old sounds of his ancestors while listening to his grandmother sing and watching her traditional dances. He decided to follow in her footsteps. He taught himself how to build and master more than 10 traditional instruments like this nyatiti.
There's need for the young ones to get to know the instrument, to get to know of their land, their people, their music, their environment. And that's why we decided to at least share with them the knowledge that we have of the instruments.
The instrument is a sound box that's tapped by the player, who often taps metal rings at the same time. Rapasa holds workshops to inspire more youngsters to play the traditional instrument from the Luo ethnic group in Western Kenya.
It's what we need to keep our culture alive. And I think Rapasa is really doing much in promoting our culture.
Rapasa didn't have the funds to buy his drums, sound boxes, or harps, so he started building them by collecting used and natural materials like the sisal plant, animal skins, wood, or metal. Sometimes he finds the cans he needs for his rattles at Nairobi's dump sites.
I saw the struggle of people asking, so where do we get that nyatiti? Where do we get that root? Where do we get that peke? Where do we get that nyangile or sanduku, you know? Yeah, so I decided, no, I will travel to these places. I will learn how to make them. And I will learn these sounds and bring them close to the people.
The nyatiti is Rapasa's principal instrument. This 8-string harp originated in Egypt. It was later played by the Luo people of Kenya. The lower 4 strings symbolize the first 4 days after a boy's birth, and the upper 4 strings represent the first 4 days after a man's death. It is traditionally played only by men.
I believe that whatever we are doing will change many. For example, you know, the kids will only do whatever they see every day. I think it's necessary for them to learn this so that it's something that is passing, because I also find people playing them. So that is how I also got inspired.
John Rapasa Otieno teaches youth how to play these traditional instruments free of charge. He's dedicated to upholding his grandmother's cultural traditions. Today, he performs for audiences whenever he can to make this ancient music popular once again.
So what's drumming without dancing? We head to Guinea-Bissau, where a young man is trying to ensure that the cultural dances from his country do not become extinct. Interesting.
4 o'clock. Time for one more rehearsal in Bandim Quarter, in the capital of Guinea-Bissau. Hector Diogenes Kasama directs the Netos de Bandim, Portuguese for Bandim's grandchildren. The group, which has more than 100 members of all ages, promotes the culture of Guinea-Bissau. They've already rescued 23 traditional dances from oblivion. Part of our work is going to a specific region where an ethnic group lives, and we collect information about the dance, music, and costumes. Later in Bissau, the group works on the dance and on the cultural components we rescued. Since its foundation in the year 2000, Netos de Bandim has won almost all the local and national carnival parades, gaining popularity among the youth. Through traditional dances and music, Netos de Bandim has helped keep children off the streets and given them an opportunity. Megalino Suarez de Gama grew up without parents. Today, he is a popular percussionist. I used to lead the life of a street child. I hung around in the streets doing bad things like stealing. But Netos de Bandim changed my life completely. Now I'm studying law at the university. Hector Casama's initiative helps teenagers to discover their own talents and overcome obstacles in their lives. Most of the children in Netos de Bandim are vendors, orphans. They spend almost 70% of their time doing some work. And we support children in terms of education and health care. The organization relies solely on shows to generate income. There's no external support. Half of the profits go towards supporting the young dancers, such as Myra Paulino Jew, who recently graduated. I used to spend time as a vendor at the market. But Netos de Bandim's help enabled me to go to school every day. Now I don't go to the Bandim market anymore. I'm too busy at school. Netos de Bandim also offers literacy training for parents and vocational courses for the young. Currently, the group has partnerships with several schools and training centers. We have 10 to 15 young people attending training courses. Netos de Bandim have already taken Guinea-Bissau's culture to Gambia, Senegal, and Portugal, and to Carnival in Brazil.
Now, from dancing to more dancing, we head to Chad, where there's an open-air practice for children to discourage them from becoming potential targets for terrorist recruits.
6 o'clock in the morning in central N'Djamena. Dance practice with street children in the open air. Choreographer Aleva Nadavogo Yud is doing this to stop the children from falling into the wrong hands. If the children just hang around on the streets, they become potential targets for terrorists. When we talk of terror today, street children are at a high risk because they have lost hope. And someone who's lost hope might drink and may be ready to do anything for money. For example, working for the Boko Haram militants. No one speaks openly about it, but just about 60 kilometers away in the Lake Chad region, the presence of terrorists can be felt. What looks like a harmless dance is actively preventing terrorism. After 1.5 years of intensive training, the boys have come to trust their instructor. Aleva is my role model. I would also like to become a musician, an artist. Yeah, that's what I'd like to do in the future. Yakub still lives on the street, but Aleva has managed to get him a job at a carpenter's workshop. He doesn't get paid, but he at least gets something to eat. Aleva lives right next to the workshop with his wife and his child. He loves his daughter and spends every free moment with her. A love which most of the boys have never experienced. A love that fights against terror. Aleva is traveling to the other side of Chari River. He wants to visit 3 brothers who lived on the street for months. Thanks to Aleva, the boys returned back home. Their father is jobless and divorced. He has enough problems of his own. Whether they're here or not doesn't really matter. It's their decision. I can't force them into anything. Aleva has a different view. It's much easier when they're here. I can pick them up, work with them professionally, and then bring them back home. Aleva has photos taken for the project. For him, having the twins and their small brother back with their family means success, especially since terrorists cannot reach them here. Some of Aleva's boys spend the night at his place. Whether drunk or sober, the dancer accepts them just the way they are. At first, it was just one boy who would sleep here. Now 30 or more sometimes come. For this, Aleva had to convince members of his family and also the landlord to accept the street children into his home. When I started taking care of the children, everyone was against it. My parents and especially the mother to my daughter. But I told her, she either accepts the children or she can pack her things and go. In the end, she accepted it. We're still together, and nowadays she's the one who begs me to bring the children home so that they don't have to sleep on the street. My girlfriend understood that I'm doing this out of love. And the children can feel this too, each and every day a little bit more.
Great initiative. Now from dancing, we go to rap. Angola's rapper is taking big risk with his lyrics.
In other countries, it's just an art form. In Angola, it can be dangerous. Rapper MCK works on his songs in a hidden studio in Luanda.
Chamado a tribunal, acusado de golpista, barrado no aeroporto, feito terrorista. A bofia me pediu para ter cuidado, eu disse eu sou cuidado, investigo a voz do ar, não tenho fama de bandido. Sempre fui artista, só falo, não mato, sou rapper de ativista, não calo, sou chato, filósofo e jurista.
MCK, alias Katrogi Nanga Luamba, denounces police violence and poverty. He studied philosophy and uses music to express his desire for democracy in an authoritarian country. My dream is for the country to change. I don't want to emigrate. I want to stay here in Angola and work towards improving my country. I would like to see an Angola with happier people, people that are proud to live here. The rapper grew up in the Maculuso slum in Angola's capital, Luanda. Everyone here knows him. He used to sell clothes on the streets and then began rapping. His experiences in the slums have influenced his lyrics. It is really hard. If you manage to escape drugs and crime as a 20-year-old, then you're effectively a hero here. But you can do it if you believe in yourself and invest in your life. I'm trying to give something back to this neighborhood. Today he wants to perform in Luanda together with his friend and rapper Luati Bairaun, who was imprisoned for a year, accused of planning a rebellion against the president. Even though the government has consistently banned their concerts in the past, they're optimistic this time. They've already found a venue. MCK never gives up. He won't budge an inch from his message. He insists on his values. If he didn't do that, he would definitely be able to perform in front of larger audiences, but he won't compromise. But the state, too, is uncompromising. It bans the concert just before it begins. MCK doesn't give up. He's determined to make his fans happy, so he spontaneously organizes a rap session in his old neighborhood.
Estamos em paz, quero direitos iguais desses betinhos que andavam lá fora. Sem sacrifício, riquinhos de agora. Prefiro morrer a ti, também quero paz no prato. Tudo que eu quero é paz no prato. Dignidade e paz no prato, tá todo. Prefiro morrer a tiro do que morrer à fome, irmãos. A disparidade é enorme, vivemos presos nessa armadilha, condenados a ser bravos.
His song O Pais do Pai Banana is a parable about Angola's President Dos Santos, who has ruled the country since 1979. The president's family controls all the businesses in the country, so there's clearly a conflict of interest. This song is about how a minority are making a ton of money from the majority of people who keep getting poorer. And MCK won't put up with that. He refuses to keep quiet.
finally, in Kenya, there is this group called the Ghetto Classics. They can turn any song into an orchestra. Take a look.
Surprising sounds coming out of Korogochu. Celine Akumu and her fellow musicians can transform any song into orchestral music. But Ghetto Classics is more than just a unique orchestra in one of Nairobi's largest slums.
Ghetto Classics is my second family. Yeah. We all stay here like brothers and sisters. Yeah. So maybe if I'm bored at home and I want to relax and have fun, I just come here.
Growing up in Korogocho is tough, but, says Celine, the worst part is the stigma attached to it. She and her fellow musicians have discovered a way to earn dignity and respect.
Sometimes how people talk, you know, maybe you're from the slums, so you can't do anything. So you find it like it's eating me inside. Yeah, so that's the thing that I want to change.
Celine is 18 and lives with her family. The orchestra is voluntary, so she earns money teaching music. Giving young people perspectives is what organisers set out to do, even though people didn't understand at first.
When we first started, everyone thought we were crazy. What's this classical music nonsense, you know, as opposed to genge or, you know, hip hop or something cool and groovy. And so the kids, I remember our first concert here, we did some excerpts from Handel's Messiah, and we were like, we could have landed from Mars.
But the idea took off with funding from the Kenyan Art of Music Foundation.
I don't think that all the kids who are in our program will necessarily be first-class musicians or the best musicians around. But somebody like Celine, for instance, she is extremely talented. And actually, I feel it's a shame that Celine didn't come into our program when she was much younger, because perhaps if we had met her when she was 8 or 9, who knows what could have come out of this.
And there's still plenty of young talent among Korogocho's 300,000 inhabitants. Celine says Ghetto Classics is a lot more than just a career opportunity.
Music has enabled me, to realize myself and know who I am and what I want in future. So at least it has made me travel a lot and meet different people. So I think music has opened my eyes to see and to know what I want.
Celine has become a role model for others here. Discipline and teamwork are essential for any career, and there is hardly a better way to learn that in Korogocho than through the Ghetto Classics Orchestra.
That's all, people. May your week be filled with dancing, singing, and drumming like today's episode. I'm Fumuna Jefe. See you next time. Bye.
Nigeria spends about $8 billion annually on the importation of vehicles. Although in the 1970s, passenger cars and commercial trucks were assembled in Nigeria, but this didn't last for a very long time, as production capacity in the capital-intensive plants began to drop drastically by late 1980s, leading to losses for the assembly plants. Commercial truck plants were even more affected, with market demand declining from 36,000 in 1977 to 14,440 by 1981. Another local assembly plant also saw its annual production drop from 29,300 in 1981 to less than 1,000 in 1989 and in 2005. the once booming sector, which created mass jobs and economic growth, was largely affected by corruption, epileptic power supply, government inconsistency, and a drop in oil prices. This led to an increase in importation of vehicles into the country. In a bid to reduce importation and boost local production, the government set an automotive policy in 2014. But this has not been very effective, as reports from the National Bureau of Statistics showed that Nigeria imported over 1.2 million new and used vehicles into the country between 2012 and 2017. Plus TV Africa spoke with local importer Mr. Kunle on the effects of this policy and prospects for growing the automobile industry in Nigeria.
Thank you for having us at yours. So how long have you been in the business of importation of vehicles, and how easy has it been for you?
I've been in the importation of cars for the past 15 years. And when I want to talk about being easy, bringing cars from abroad, it's been fine, but we still have a little challenge. First, we face the challenge of government, and we face the challenge of exchange rate as well. So these are the two challenges we have.
The National Bureau of Statistics said that from 2012 to 2017, Nigeria has imported that both new vehicles and Tokumbo vehicles, that's fairly used vehicles, we've imported over 1.2 million cars into the country. And then annually we spend $8 billion on an average, right, on importation of vehicles, which is very high. What would you say the reason for these high figures have been?
Nigeria don't produce car. If Nigeria produce car, I don't believe we'll be spending so much money of bringing car from other country to our country. So if Nigerian government can be able to produce Nigerian-made car, I believe bringing car from abroad will reduce.
And following the auto policy, which said that for new vehicles, the tariff on it would be 70%, and then the tariff on fairly used vehicles will be 35%. How did it affect your business? Did it affect your businesses in any way?
The 70% increasement of duty, the only area I can say it affects our business is because the average Nigerian, the average Nigerian camp that buy car from us, they don't buy like the way they used to buy because of the prices. When we bring car in, the car we sell for, like, for example, initially we used to sell this Corolla 2004 model for 1.4 million naira, but when the increment goes for 75%, the car go higher to 2 million naira. So, and as I said, the little Nigerian guys, men, women, that just start their life, that want to get family car, they go for Corolla, easily using car, you know, but they cannot afford it because of the tariff. The only help I can tell Nigerian government to do for us is to please reduce the tariff of the importation.
In a bid to address the deficit in the economy, the Nigerian government initiated the National Automobile Industry Development Plan with the aim to attract foreign direct investment, curtail the dependence on importation of vehicles, and promote local production of automobiles. The introduction led to an increase in import tariffs for vehicles, attracting international car manufacturers and leading to the resumption of small-scale vehicle assembly. Although Nigeria boasts of having the first made-in-Africa automobile brand, Innocent Motors, importers like Kunle still think it is not readily available for purchase.
If you are telling me about Nigerian-made car now, I can't tell you where the office works, and I cannot even tell you I've seen one of the car. I only see it on the internet or on television. So that's the only thing I can say. If the man in question can be able to produce the car much for Nigerian to see, and he has a shop for it, a showroom for it, for people to come and have sex, to come and feel the car, I believe Nigeria, we patronize Nigerian-made car than bringing car from abroad. Because one, I believe it's going to be cheaper than buying from abroad. Second, you are not exchange naira to dollar to bring new car. So it means you are buying a Nigeria used car with our naira.
He spoke on ways the government can be of help.
So how do you think the government can support importation of vehicles and also rejuvenate the already existing manufacturing plants that are in the country but are not fully operational?
If Nigerian government can say, okay, today we want all the government officials to be using Nigerian made car. So I believe it's going to even increase the level of production of Nigerian made car.
We have the Ajaokuta steel company, and I know that steel is a very important part of car manufacturing. How well do you think we've been able to maximize this potential and resource that we have here in Nigeria?
After Nigeria now, I don't think they know about what is called Ajaokuta. Even though they know about Ajaokuta, what did they produce? Nothing. We don't know. You understand? So government need to create awareness in everything they are doing so that the youth, okay, for example, some will say they went to school to go and read engineer, mechanical engineer. By the time they come out, nothing to show up on a mechanical engineer. They'll find themselves doing something else. And Ajaokuta still is there. So what's the company for? Is it not for the children that went to school to go and read engineer, to go there to go and do something? So everything still bounce back to government. If government really serious about the Ajaokuta steel, I believe Ajaokuta will produce a lot of things in this country. And many youth of this country will get something to do.
All right, thank you very much for having us at yours today.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome, madam.
Nigeria, what is the plan? Recently, a tweet by David Hudain caught my attention. He shared a thread about the current situation of Nigeria's youths, and he wrote from the perspective of youths born into wealthy families. And this is what he said. I attended my secondary school alumni meeting yesterday, and I felt really, really sad about Nigeria. Bear in mind, this is Atlantic Hall we're talking about, so pretty much all of us won the birth lottery to begin with. But everybody is leaving Nigeria. This is not a drill. He explains that though he and his mates were from privileged backgrounds, they still could not withstand the crippling force that Nigeria can be. He specifically states that the cost of education is a driving factor for the mass exodus. The fact that instead of building and consolidating on what their parents built, they're selling off their property in order to pay bills. So he asks, Nigeria, what is the plan before the middle class completely cease to exist? I started to wonder if what the writer was saying was true. Was there really this mass exodus of the middle class? What would it mean for the future of my country? A reliable source within the Ikoyi office of the Nigeria Immigration Service, NIS, confirmed that 1 million Nigerians have emigrated to several countries in Europe, America, Asia, and even Africa since the advent of the present administration in 2015. I also know of a number of people that have left the country, so it does look like there is evidence to support his claim. This should be a serious cause for concern. The loss of the skill, knowledge, and expertise of the middle class could spell total system collapse for my country. So, Nigeria, what is the plan, if indeed there is a plan? How do we encourage this group of people to stay, to have hope, and to believe in Nigeria? What say you, my fellow panelists?
Who are you asking, Ireti?
Because in case she wants to go ahead, put her glasses on. No, because he talks about 2015 to now. So.
Okay, I think Ireti needs to speak up for this current. No, please let me take it away from that. Ireti hasn't gotten it.
Since our man came into power, 1 million people on record have left the country.
More than.
Okay, so
he's
more
saying
than
that
1 million.
Yeah.
It could be a lot more than 1 million that have left.
Yeah.
And of the middle class.
Yes.
So Liberals is saying you should do a rebuttal because it concerns.
Maybe you know a lot about that.
Say I should do a rebuttal? You're busy defending politicians in court and you want me to do a rebuttal.
Okay.
Thank you.
Let me take it from there. Okay, let me just make the point that
through the research I found, the only thing I could see that demonstrated any sharp exodus was in the 1980s. I'm not sure. Someone will enlighten me as to why.
I totally agree with you. Go ahead.
Early
90s.
Which one was
No,
it?
it
Well, it says
started-
1980s.
it actually started in the 90s.
So there was nothing significant
1986.
around this period. I mean, the only thing
That's when they had data. Now they no longer.
Oh, really? But they still documented
No,
it prior
actually,
to
it is
1980s
documented,
and afterwards. So you can see the spike.
Yes, you
know,
can.
And then after
Correct.
that, it seems to just pretty much stay about the same.
Correct. No.
So the only thing then, because Uche and I were chatting earlier on, and the one we know that's in the news is the exodus of the doctors. That one is documented now.
Even the government has said they can go, that we have a
and
money.
what they get is a failure.
That was the most,
what's
irresponsible statement by
Minister, yes.
Because he
Minister of
didn't.
Labour.
He says we have
As a
enough
doctor
doctors, so
as
if
well.
they like,
You
let them go.
don't- you don't
What if
even
the
have
best
the-
are going?
We don't even
and
have
we're
the
left with the
statistics
worst.
of the ones that are living.
It's not a question of numbers.
This your data might not be correct also.
Well, it seems to be consistent along several.
As I speak to you
I
every
don't
day,
think so.
every day, I have people who want to emigrate to
Exactly.
Canada,
Yes.
who are looking for. Recently, there was this fake news that Canadian government is
Why did
looking
that
for
happen?
1 million Nigeria.
Yep.
Why did that happen?
Why did that happen?
Because there are a lot
Because
of
there are
people
people
who
who
are
want to
looking
use
for.
it.
And then there's this new rave. Everybody wants their kids to go to school abroad.
Okay.
Also,
It's even new. It's always been like that.
it's but not as
not at this level.
as
It's
because
really-
the systemic collapse. It didn't just start with this administration, though. So the collapse of our educational system over the years that now coupled with ASU strike. So you really can even Ghana, Cotonou, Nigerian students are all over the place.
Malaysia,
So people want to go to school. And then if it's 3 years program, you come out 3 years, And then if you weigh the fee that they're paying in the private universities here,
very expensive.
coupled with the fact that if you, in some cases, these students, some of them can even work abroad, while still going to school. So, unlike here. You pay the fees, they come back on holiday, they are driving your cars, they are sitting at home.
I mean, the other point I was going to make, I agree with you. The other point I was going to make is that are these people that he was referring to, his colleagues, are they really the middle class? They're the upper class.
No, they're not.
No, they're the middle class.
Are they the middle class?
They are not middle
because
class.
if you're going
They
to
are not
Atlantic
middle
Hall,
class.
No, they are
you're going to
middle
Atlantic
class.
Hall.
Yeah, Atlantic Hall. Let's look
He's
at
a product of
let's-
that.
I
let's
consider
look at-
that to be
I
middle
totally
class.
agree
If
with
your
you.
parents-
Let's look at what middle class is, and we always, because in Nigeria, we
Economic
always seem
middle
to
class.
forget. Yes, we always seem to forget that
Based
there
on
is a
Yes.
burgeoning middle class.
Middle
We
class does
allow
not
me
mean
to
that you live
finish.
in three-bedroom flats.
Yeah, we seem to think, you go from the masses straight to the
Yes,
elite.
exactly.
There is a middle ground, and if you can,
How would you define
if
it?
you can, it's economics. If you
It
can
has to be
afford
economics.
Atlantic
It won't
Hall,
be like
you
England,
are middle
where-
class.
Not upper
You are
class.
not an elite. No, you are not.
You'll be studying
You-
abroad
You are
if
not an
you're-
elite. Even if you studied abroad, it doesn't mean some people save up.
Yeah,
You can
save-
save
yeah,
up.
you
You
can
and I can
save
save up to
enough
send
just
our
to
children
send
abroad.
somebody.
But let's go back to what
what would
I think.
qualify as upper class then?
There is to what Uche was saying, and I understand his fears actually, but I think we have to look at what the damages that middle class bring to society. And also, I understand that you do need a middle class within a society because you need that balance. But however, the people who actually vote the least in Nigeria are the middle class and the upper class and the elite, etc., etc. They're the people who but they gain more from political administrations, yet they invest a lot less in their time. So I'm not worried. That's number one, because of the middle class. I'm not
talking like
worried.
Ngige now.
No. Ngige mentioned about professions. I
It's the
am
same
talking.
thing. They're
No,
middle class.
it is not the same thing.
Continue.
Okay, not all doctors are middle class, for goodness' sake.
But the ones that are living are middle class.
Not all doctors.
The ones that are living are middle
but
class.
I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about generally. Okay, I'm
Anyway,
talking about
generally,
a societal configuration. So when you have all of that, there's balance, there's good and bad for having a middle class.
But
is
what I
I'm
wanted
saying.
to find out from you, what is the bad
Of the middle class.
Yeah,
Right, that's what I'm saying. So the middle
don't
class of
contribute to the
Nigeria,
political-
they actually don't take part in the political
almost like good
struggles. They gain from it more. If you look at the voting records, it's not the middle class that actually vote. Okay, it's also like that very much in other countries, but it's worse
I
when
heard
it's in
that
Nigeria. It's a fact. It's
No.
not something I'm
There are
making
no
up.
statistics. There are
There
no
are
empirical
statistics to match it
evidence
up. We can
to
find it
back
when we
that
do the
up.
bureau.
You
There
know
are
why?
statistics
Do you
to
know
match
why?
this up.
Do you know why?
No, I disagree with you, so your why wouldn't work for me, but go ahead and
Do you
present
know
it.
why?
Go on.
Just before the election, the middle class don't vote. The middle class don't vote. Some of us
Yes, I
monitor
heard
the
some
election.
politicians
Some
actually
of us
saying
monitor the election. We're everywhere. Go to VGC,
Middle class
go to
vote.
Lekki, and if you see the crowd, the massive turnout in these places.
That's
For
the
the
middle
fact,
class areas.
But
yes.
it's a
Well, let
new
me finish.
thing.
Let me finish. the fact that you have more people in Oshodi, Mushin, Alakoko, and you have 1 million turnout in those places, and then you have 300 people in Lekki, and then you have 290 people turn out to vote, does not mean that the people in Lekki didn't turn out.
They are less in numbers.
They are less in numbers than those in Alakuko, in Alagbado, and Oshodi and Mushin. You know? So these are also some factors that people don't take into cognizance when they're discussing this middle class. But then,
so
that's an aside.
Less of the middle class anyway.
Yeah, that's an aside. But the society we are in, you have less of the middle class because some people you even tag as middle class are people who are even struggling to fit in. And so you also find the danger in all of this is that this middle class is, in most cases, are the energetic ones.
Aspiring for a better life.
Yes. The ones that have the energy to deliver, to build societies. And so if majority, mass of these people are living,
seeing better opportunities
living, and that's why some people, in spite of their immigration laws, we open doors and windows for your people to come in.
That's also another factor. Why is Canada seeing them as attractive?
Because
that was
they
actually
see
fake news.
Because they see
that was fake news. Canada actually made this
but
statement
then
and said,
they see the energy.
No, but
they see the energy.
But
because
Canada has always accepted immigration from professionals. It had nothing to do with Nigeria. They always had. Wherever you come in the world.
We agree with that.
In the same vein,
yes, of people.
You remember those days, these same 80s, 70s that we're talking about, early 70s, late 70s. We had this exchange programs where you had Indians, Chinese, Koreans come here, even Malaysians coming here to study and understudy. You know, the same way we send some of our people there.
Over there.
But now, that was what Canada was doing. You know, exchange program, and then they open their doors to welcome your experts. If you're good in this field, you can come work here. And so they provide the opportunity that your country is not providing. And so when people saw all of this, a lot of people are taking advantage of it.
So what is the solution?
Because no,
it was not born out of exchange.
It wasn't born out of exchange, Liboros. I'm sorry. Canada has always encouraged migration by professionals all throughout because they have a huge land, they have lots of space, but they don't have a large population as of that time. So it's always been, it had nothing to do.
I remember the Hong Kong.
Sorry, can I come in, guys?
Yes. What I really want to know to come over if they didn't want to be there after 1990.
I think because of the issues that were happening.
Let's not spend too much time arguing about why Canada is. Yeah, because really what I want to know is how do we stop this? Because it's getting to the point.
Jobs.
Yeah, but how do we...
Education.
You see,
we will need to first appreciate the value of these people.
Let's understand that
that's a good
every government owes us a lot. If you come and you say you want to provide education, you want to provide infrastructure, we should hold you accountable and responsible. Government, the world is diversifying into a knowledge-based economy. Here we're talking agriculture, even though we are killing small businesses. Agriculture without value added is poverty. And so the only way we can stop this is to create education that will in turn create jobs.
Excellent.
Education and jobs.
I think on that note we'll have to, stop. Okay, well, all is said and done. We're all about finding the way forward. Chuka progresses things after the break.
Welcome to The Advocate, a program that thrashes out all the topical issues of the day.
When you are in government, you don't see nothing wrong with whatever is happening. The moment you are out there, everything is wrong.
You can't even see many women now, and when they're there, they're not even really making a mark, and then they have an NYSC problem and this and that.
One of the reasons why we don't have more women in politics in Nigeria is for as long as political meetings continue to take place in the middle of the night.
Exactly.
Really disastrous for a president
to even say
to be unaware of the chief justice.
It's a ploy. It could be a strategy.
That strategy was
very
terrible strategy. Because the buck stops at your table.
Whether it's that we don't look after our cities, and quite frankly, Nigeria is becoming a very ugly place.
When you are the only one feeding the people with this news, and there is nobody countering them, it becomes, the news.
You want to know the coolest place in town? It's right here on your phone.
Welcome to the Glow Cafe. Come on in. It's buzzing in the Zanga. In here, anything is possible. Check out the menu, and here are some of the hot items. Over here, you can buy credit, buy data, share data, borrow voice and data, give data. Amawobi, give it to him now, be kind. Then there is Glow Music Cafe. More than 2 million Nigerian and Africa Lampa. Glow has teamed up with the world's largest gaming catalog to bring you the Glow Game Cafe. And that's just the start. Check out the Glow Video Cafe. Countless clips, comedy and sports, direct to your device. And when you thought things couldn't get easier, there's personal account management and Glow customer care right at your fingertips.
You can get everything at Glow.
Simply text BUZZ to 105 to download the Glow Cafe app or go to your app store and search for Glow Cafe, the largest data network. Glow, grandmasters of data.
Welcome to The Advocate, a program that thrashes out all the topical issues of the day.
When you are in government, you don't see nothing wrong with whatever is happening. The moment you are out there, everything is wrong.
You can't even see many women now, and when they're there, they're not even really making a mark, and then they have an NYSC problem and this and that.
One of the reasons why we don't have more women in politics in Nigeria is for as long as political meetings continue to take place in the middle of the night.
Exactly.
No, really disastrous for a president
to even say
to be
he's
unaware of the chief
It's
justice.
a ploy. It could be a strategy.
That strategy was
backfired.
Terrible strategy. Because the buck stops at your table.
Whether it's that we don't look after our cities, and quite frankly, Nigeria is becoming a very ugly place.
When you are the only one feeding the people with this news and there is nobody countering them, it becomes, the news.
You're watching The Advocate on Plus TV Africa. Time to look grief in the face, no shaking. Some grieved over the Notre Dame catastrophe in Paris, a building of over 900 years, largely destroyed. French billionaires came to the rescue, each pledging hundreds of millions of euros. That's how much they value culture and history. Some long-throat, that means greedy, Africans, asked why these billionaires had not solved our poverty problem. Have wealthy Africans done that for their own people? Then the word billionaire came up again, this time with regard to the terrorist bomb attacks in Colombo, Sri Lanka on Easter Sunday. A billionaire with the largest land ownership in the UK lost 3 of his 4 children. Another young British man lost his wife and 2 children. What sort of life going forward? Suddenly, Notre Dame pales into insignificance for me. What's the world coming to? Islam hijacked, xenophobia on the rise, nationalistic extremists taking over. The perfect antithesis of colonialism. There will be scarred people everywhere, families shattered, mental illness becoming a real consequent problem, disjunction and displacement becoming real. We need to have discussions around identity and culture now more than ever. A shared geographical space equates not to a shared vision. To prevent these recurrent tales of grief, we must re-examine our values, especially as regards the real presence of varied divisive forces.
Interesting. Yeah. I just want to, I want to highlight the point you made about the antithesis of colonialism, because I find it intriguing when you start looking at patterns of behavior. So do you feel it was always going to come about? Do you think it was a natural progression of things, that you go from one extreme of people hijacking your culture to you fighting back? Is that what you think?
I think so. And, or rather, I knew that they were going to fight back against us going back to them as they came to us once. I'll just tell you.
I totally get where you're coming
I'll tell you a
from.
short story. When I was in my first year in university, I went on an excursion with the first year students, and we went to Florence. We went by train, and I remember I had to go and get visas for every country we passed through.
You weren't emigrating.
Now, on the way back, there was a problem. The train was not going to go through Paris. It was going to go through Belgium, and I had not gotten Belgium. So I had to take some money from the tutor in charge and buy a ticket and fly back and give them the money in London. All this I did while I was actually British, technically. I just had never applied for a passport or anything at that time. Why did I not apply for a passport? Because I just felt that it was odd, my handling a British passport, because as far as I was concerned, I'm a black man, I'm Nigerian, Chuka is my name,
so
I'm not John Smith.
On principle.
And I felt that if I used to watch people go at the airport, when we land at the airport from Lagos, I would see my friend Chukudi or Ade heading to British passport. I'm like, this is ridiculous. These guys are this is just a joke. And then I used to think to myself, the white people must be very angry about this, seeing those two boys going through their counter. So I'm not going to do that because I just can't take that stress. Then my parents said, look, go, you see now, you couldn't even make your way back to England. So basically, I had to go and get a passport. And it made my traveling easier. And that's what I've seen that passport as, to travel. But it shows you that at that point, I was beginning to see that they're not going to like us saying we are them. So I'm Nigerian, and it's not going to be nice for one John Smith to see me as British.
Okay.
And then to see a million of me. To see one or two.
I thought I got where you were coming from, but I think I'm not. I'm not.
Them and us let me explain something.
Sorry,
please.
Let Libras express himself.
I completely agree with you. You find that one big problem that is, we are all confronted, but we refuse to talk about is the fact that me trying to be you, or you not allowing me to be me, and then I struggling to be me, or say, no, look, I must be me.
Identity issues.
Yes, identity issues. Take Nigeria, for example. Some people came up, oh, look, we want to practice Islam in our domain. And others says, no, we must be a secular, state. And then in some cases, you have people who want to be more British than the British man. And then at the end of the day, we say, oh, this one is the fake one, this one is the real one. But if we say we want to practice federalism, allow everybody to practice, their kind of government, what's comfortable for them. But with, some modicum of regulations. If we allow that, the world will be a better place. Okay. Islam will not feel, look, we are being compelled to embrace.
So there's a kind of colonial mentality still operating. If you're imposing a culture on people that is not natural to them.
That's why, because some people feel the West came to impose their culture on us.
But even amongst
ourselves. Now we need to try to liberate ourselves. And then that process, like you talked about, the Islam, hijacking of Islam. And some, dissident hijacked that process. And then some people who ordinarily should know better now see that, because also they have bottled up this hatred for colonization, they now see them as, liberators. It's the same thing with culture. It's the same thing we're practicing here. And that's why Chuka will feel, I don't want to be British because I am not British. And then the other man feels, look, we are British, we should accept it that way. And even though you carry that British passport, you carry the British passport, it gets to a point, that, look, you are just holding a British passport, you are not really British.
Yeah. The point...
Here we go.
The point I want to make here is that the reason why I think people are kicking back, it's not necessarily because they're just fed up with people trying to, I think people have a problem with people that come into their country and don't really assimilate properly, or they bring their own ways and try and change the way the country is being run. Now, for instance,
I have to agree with that.
You come to the UK, right? And you now want to impose Sharia law in areas, and that's what they're doing in some areas in the UK now. They're imposing
Is that not what the UK
Sharia.
Is doing too?
Doing where?
Continue. Gay.
No, this
branched back.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying that anybody is innocent of any crime. But I'm just saying that this happens to be, I've noticed this a lot. I have a friend who's from Australia, and she's also complaining that the same sort of thing is happening in Australia, where the indigents of Australia do not have the same rights as people emigrating or illegal immigrants coming into Australia. Yeah, so it seems to be happening everywhere. If people come into a country and they're not willing to assimilate or willing to just be like the people around them, and they're coming with their own strong culture, and they might as well stay in your country.
I totally agree.
May I come in? So first of all, Chuka, you don't have to take the British nationality if you don't want to. It's not enforced on you. it is by
It
choice.
never was, I know.
That's what I mean. No, that's
Let
for the
them not
sake
come
of,
and
that's
take
for
it.
the sake of liberals. It is not enforced on anybody. It is by choice. That's number one. Number two is it's also part of the debt of colonialism. Back in the days, there was such a thing called British Protectorate visas and passports, where as a Nigerian, you probably would have been, well, our
How would the British
grandfather-
feel is
Allow
protecting
me
me?
to finish. It's called the British because they came and they invaded your country.
Now they owe you something.
I just said it's the debt of colonialism. Debt,
But carry on,
they say,
don't let it slow you down.
Exactly, so I don't lose my train of thought. So there was such a thing back then. And if your father or your grandfather had actually claimed a British Protectorate visa or passport at that time, it can pass on to generations. It's just that most people didn't bother to do so. So that's one fact. The other fact is
mine
the
was for being
imposition.
born there.
Yes, that's what I'm
Okay.
saying. Yes, so exactly.
Which was
Which
different
is where I
from-
was coming to.
right.
You were born there. If you're born in a country, it is your choice whether you choose because you have dual nationality. Those of us that are blessed as Nigerians, Nigeria is one of the countries where you can have dual nationality. You can choose to be both, okay, without denying your place of birth.
Although we weren't
or
originally
your nationality.
until about 19.
Yes, they changed
late
it, but-
80s was when they allowed us to actually have.
Allow me.
That will explain the spark
I
of
agree.
the
So
Right,
the next thing
finish,
then
'cause-
is cultural appropriation, what you were talking about with regards to people coming into a country and imposing.
Yes, when in
Yes,
Rome.
of course. What we need to focus more, I think, is I'd like to look at the positive part of when people merge. And I think the world, if we had more of a borderless world, we wouldn't have so many problems. What we need to do is actually learn to respect each other's culture more, okay, and learn and lend and celebrate each other's culture. That way we get true multiculturalism.
Yeah.
What we don't need is when those who resent others that have British passports think it's okay to resent them.
Okay,
When
just-
you are
I
born
just want to
British,
make another-
you are born
don't
British.
reduce this
Now go
to
back
British
to the
passports.
New Zealand, sorry, the one you were talking
Australia.
about
Australia, yeah.
The Australians, actually, those who are complaining to you, unless she's an Aborigine,
No,
she
she's
has no
not an
right.
Aborigine.
Exactly, she even has no
Yeah, but
right.
she's-
to
That was the point I was going to make.
But then
She has
you
no
go
right
back.
to
No,
that country.
Let me make this point.
I rest my
Let me make
case.
this point
Right.
because, to some extent, I'm somewhere between Uche and Ireti in the sense that actually, yes, people should adopt. When you go to someone's country, you should respect what you meet on the ground
Yes.
and try
And
and be
celebrate
like
each
them.
other.
Don't go
Yes.
there and try and set up your own
Yes.
little emirate. But the other side of it is also that nobody really can say they are 100% indigenous in the sense that someone must have migrated at some
Thank
point.
you.
So all this
Thank
idea
you.
of them
I
versus
agree.
us is completely fallacious, to use Liberty's word.
No, but if
so
I
let's
talk
all
like-
try and
if-
absorb and
Yeah.
understand that the world was always
But
going
if
to
we
be
behave
fluid.
like
Exactly, and celebrate
lawyers
that
would say,
fluidity.
if I've been in England for 300 years, if I'm the type of people that have been British for 300 years, then we are now the British.
Precisely.
So I believe that if you keep going on about Aborigines, then that's going too far.
No, it's not.
Well,
Because
you
if an
see,
Australian is
here the
complaining
problem-
about somebody
the
comes to
problem-
take over their country, you're not even, unless you're an Aborigine, it was never your country. Just like Americans and
quickly,
Well, I'm
African
afraid
Americans,
I'll
what
have
few
to-
seconds.
I'll have
You
to
know,
end it.
Native
Please, quickly,
Indians,
few seconds.
Native
Okay,
Americans.
it has to be
Quick
few
seconds.
seconds.
Very few seconds.
Oh, no, it's not going to be
You,
fair.
no, no, really,
I'll
really,
stop
you,
it. All right.
find out that, the issue here is everybody is guilty of this. The West came, imposed their culture.
Correct.
Imposed their way of life. You must behave this way, you must do this. And now you have a backlash. These same people that you have once imposed their culture on are realizing, and they feel, look, we also need to live our life and not live your life. That's where the clash is.
Well, thank you very much. Like Uche said, we're all about solutions, right? Liberals want to take the magnifying glass to our national pledge after the break.
Are you sure you want to do this?
Adam, go and bring us your husband. Okay, hello baby.
We're in this together, okay? Can you hear me? Keep coming forward.
Wait, stop.
You okay? Lean to your right. Keep walking down. Keep walking to the left. Yes.
You're almost here.
Keep going.
You are here. Wow, you did it.
I'm just so glad I didn't have to use my cane to do this.
And I am so glad no other man got you before me. Let me be your eyes.
We will never stop working to give you a network you can rely on so you can enjoy life's special moments. MTN, everywhere you go.
You're watching The Advocate on Plus TV Africa. Charity begins at home. The Nigerian pledge, a real fool in April. I pledge to Nigeria, my country, to be faithful, loyal, and honest, to serve Nigeria with all my strength, to defend her unity, to uphold her honor and glory, so help me God. We mouth these words daily, yet we are so unfaithful, disloyal, and dishonest in all our daily dealings with the citizens and the country. Even those that serve, do not with all their strength and not pay their salaries. Talk less of those that died once were serving. Whose unity are we actually defending when Lagos can't be your home despite being born and raised here and you own properties there? What honor is left of a country to uphold when she's daily being raped by custodian of her chastity? And until we rise and do something, God will never help us.
Yeah.
I agree with you.
Can I just say I love our pledge. I've always loved it. I like it. I love that you read it out. I think we need to be reminded of it.
But he's saying it's
Let
a
me
fast.
just say that.
He's saying it's a fast.
He said it's a
enough.
Yeah, I'm not
Essentially,
saying. Yeah, but that doesn't mean that he doesn't believe we should have it. Abi?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, that's what he's saying. That if we believed in it, truly, leave it.
Don't just
No, but
leave it.
it's the same scenario about, it's the same scenario we have in Nigeria. We have churches at every corner. We have it's the same thing. We have churches, so we have like a so-called form of godliness, but not therein.
Yeah.
So the whole
Highly
point.
religious, less godly.
Yes,
I like the therein. She went for King James.
I had to cruise that in.
Okay, look,
so
listen.
that's the whole point. He's saying we say this pledge
Without meaning.
but
He's saying a lot more as far as I can make out, because he's actually looking at some of the causes and effects. In other words, even the people who are not serving with their strength, because they're not, even though they're not serving with all their strength,
they're not paid
being
well.
paid.
Yeah.
So it's not like you can blame them entirely for not serving, because they are also in a position of
it's
oppression.
a combination of the people and the system.
So when he then says, unless you rise up and do something, my question is, what is that something? Because that's the $200 question.
Ireti talked
Naira,
about,
2 million
Ireti
Naira
accused me of defending politicians and then accused the middle class of gaining so much from the system.
Not giving enough.
And not giving enough. We should all collectively learn to give enough. You recite, Chuka once talked about, saying it as it is and,
kicking out the cop-outs.
Exactly. And, so you find out that this attitude of defending ineptitude, if your governor is inept at his job, you don't defend him even if you belong to the same party, because the reason why you voted him there in the first place is to uphold our honor and glory.
Okay.
May God.
Exactly, and you must first and foremost uphold
that honor
before God will help you.
Exactly. Can I say something?
And these are the only ways we can achieve.
Does this
it's
mean
like it's like having a mission statement, and you go against that mission statement every day.
No, okay. So does this mean that most Nigerians, they are not actually patriotic, because we tend to only go for what lines our pocket? So the reason why you mentioned that there's some people will, it doesn't matter what the governor does, they'll support him.
Yeah.
Even if he's doing rubbish. Maybe if we actually thought about the good of our country, on the whole, not just thinking about if we're collecting, we should stop thinking about self. So I actually think a lot of Nigerians are not patriotic.
Yeah, I agree with you. If you
are, because we're all like, many of us actually
if we're all
proud
patriotic,
Nigerians, but we're not.
If we're all patriotic, Ekene said one thing that sometimes I just sit back and I laugh. Always very proud of it. She said some siren blaring horns were behind her and she blocked. She actually showed how, to be a better Nigerian. And others who were looking for a leader to lead followed suit. And so in everything that we do, some of us, we might just be the Bible others read. It is not until if a man comes to my office and say, I bless you, brother, I'll be suspicious of you.
Yeah.
Leave it.
Forever and a day, I agree with you.
Or you say, let us join hands in prayer. I will know that you want to defraud me.
Exactly.
Believe it. It's not enough to put your hands there and say, recite the pledge. And when it doesn't mean anything.
How do you make Nigerians more patriotic? How do you make them believe in Nigeria more than,
Again, I have to thank you, Boris, because I really, really like the pledge. And I think something happened to us. As of the time when we were much younger, before I left this country, I would always remember that you would read the pledge. You had to read the pledge daily. And I think once we stopped doing that...
They're still doing it at school.
I don't know, right, okay, so they still do it. Sorry, I'm not that familiar with what goes on in primary schools and stuff now. And I think for maybe when it is read, if it is still read now, because at first I thought because it wasn't being read anymore. But since you say it is being read, perhaps they should spend the first 20 minutes of every class to discuss what does it mean and how do you demonstrate it? How did you demonstrate it yesterday? Civics. And then we continue to
exactly. I still think the angle is...
I think we then continue to create a new generation that will begin to imbibe and behave the way the pledge said. So we then have a governance of behavior, which is what you're saying we should have, that we don't have.
But you have to give people a reason to love their country. If people don't have a reason to love Nigeria, they're only going to be thinking about.
Do you know how many people hate America right now, but they're still totally committed to
because of your uncle. As a matter of fact, they do love America.
Yes, they do love America.
We must love Nigeria.
Yes, we need to love Nigeria the way Americans are loving America.
What Uche is saying, no, Uche, I'm actually disagreeing with you. I believe we do love Nigeria.
No. We cannot love Nigeria like that.
No, we cannot.
How do you measure that?
Quickly, hang on.
Is it just quickly?
Why are we not showing the love?
That's what I'm saying. Love is an action.
We love Nigeria.
We do love Nigeria.
So you tell your wife you love her, but you don't take care of her. You don't do anything for her. But it just speaking the word love.
But does it mean you don't?
It means you don't. Love is an action.
No, you do.
You cannot just be chilling and love
by
from
blocking
a
that siren at the toll gate.
I love you showed your love for Nigeria.
You showed your love.
That's how you show love.
Yes. But Nigeria still hasn't done anything for her, but she still showed that love.
Then show it. Then more people need to show it.
When you criticize the government
constructively, how would you do that? By putting your country first.
Yes. I'm coming up with solutions.
But I do think that, much as I'm teasing Liberus for doing what he does, and that was really a tease. But I think that you do get people who do show love for Nigeria every single day.
But not enough.
But what's enough? What's enough?
Enough will change this country against
the backdrop of corruption.
But what is enough? Enough is relative.
Yeah, because there's a backdrop of corruption that
but the backdrop of corruption is that as a result of government. I mean, come on, we've got to separate.
When you criticize government constructively,
church and state,
you're showing love because you want things done
to be better, and that's love.
And so the message we are sending is, look, the fact that you're criticizing somebody, there's what they call feedback.
Yes.
Oh, government can do this differently and achieve better results. That's feedback.
Yes.
But here we don't take feedback because we see feedback as negative.
As criticism.
Insult.
Yes.
Criticism is
as insult.
Sensitive ego.
So let's, do that often and then not just recite.
Let me just chip this in because we're about to round up. Let me just chip this in to say, I'm glad you brought this topic simply because now I began to realize that it's not bad that we have the pledge. It will be a reminder to us of the hypocrisy of what we're doing so that we'll keep being challenged.
You remember once I talked about the second stanza being a prayer?
But we can change it with the new generation.
We can.
If we care enough.
Well, time, they say, is not always our friend, but it's time to broaden the conversation as we read out some of your contributions, but always keep them, short and straight to the point. Concerning the beggars who should be kings, Chairman Dukwe O. Martin says, preach it. We all need to have this mentality. We are kings, not beggars. On the episode of The Advocate, episode 15, Ashiku Christian says, we want more and more. Oh, thou shalt not commit adultery. Toches Nwa Christ, yes, that's my friend Nwa Christ, says, wow, why do I feel like you have a special calling to save marriages? That is to Uche. Dan Akpan Elias says, is this a phone-in program? I usually don't get back home until past 8 p.m. and I do watch TV plus TV, but never seen any of these episodes. Then Akpan, you can always catch us on Sundays, 6 p.m. and then go to YouTube. You'll get more on YouTube. You can go join the conversation by dropping a comment on our social media platform, on Twitter at +TV Africa, #TheAdvocateNG. Don't forget the NG. And on Facebook and Instagram, on +TV Africa, #TheAdvocateNG. We look forward to hearing from you. Time for a break. Ekene will be giving us some good news when she returns.
Welcome to The Advocate, a program that thrashes out all the topical issues of the day.
When you are in government, you don't see nothing wrong with whatever is happening. The moment you are out there, everything is wrong.
You can't even see many women now, and when they're there, they're not even really making a mark, and then they have an NYSC problem and this and that.
One of the reasons why we don't have more women in politics in Nigeria is for as long as political meetings continue to take place in the middle of the night.
Exactly.
Really disastrous for a president
to even say
be unaware of the chief
It's a ploy. It could be a strategy.
That strategy was
It's
very
backfired.
terrible strategy. Because the buck stops at your table.
Whether it's that we don't look after our cities, and quite frankly, Nigeria is becoming a very ugly place.
When you are the only one feeding the people with this news and there is nobody countering them, it becomes, the news.
Welcome to The Advocate, a program that thrashes out all the topical issues of the day.
When you are in government, you don't see nothing wrong with whatever is happening. The
Self-interest.
moment you are out there, everything is wrong.
You can't even see many women now, and when they're there, they're not even really making a mark, and then they have an NYSC problem and this and that.
One of the reasons why we don't have more women in politics in Nigeria is for as long as political meetings continue to take place in the middle of the night.
Exactly.
Really
disastrous for a president
to even say
be
he's
unaware of the chief
It's a ploy.
It could be a strategy.
That strategy was very
Backfired.
terrible strategy. Because the buck stops at your table.
Whether it's that we don't look after our cities, and quite frankly, Nigeria is becoming a very ugly place.
When you are the only one feeding the people with this news and there is nobody countering them, it becomes, the news.
You're watching The Advocate on Plus TV Africa. Time to take stock of what is in our hands. Citizen X against the odds. The recent Tiger Woods conquest is illustrative of a shout of victory in the face of defeat, the restoration of a dream against the odds. As individuals, we must fight for our dream. We must face down our obstacles and dare our Goliaths, even if those odds were inadvertently created by us. We must arise and be Citizen X, the unique citizens we are destined to be. Citizen X is that person who hones his or her talents against the odds and brings it to bear in the group setting, be it family, community, or nation setting, at school, home, or work. We must be our own advocate first and foremost. Do not be cowed into conformity. A choir is sweet to the ear not because of the monotony of voices, but because of the harmony of varying tones and pitches. Discover and stay true to your unique vision. Ditch the excuses. Your country, your sex, your circumstances, or conditions of your birth are not enough to hold you back. Funny, this sounds a bit like the Easter story, doesn't it?
True. Growing up in my school, I was just, thank God this came up, and then, so it's a continue of the gist during the break.
People will be now wanting to cash in on the break.
And so you find out that in school, then there's this, what do I call it, a phrase, I must succeed. I will succeed. Determined, resolute, sharpened by the fear of not succeeding. I must succeed even if it's tomorrow.
See the things you remember from school.
And so those were, it was engraved in our hearts, and that you should first and foremost understand that if you don't succeed, there are consequences. And so in spite of all odds,
the fear
try
of not succeeding
and succeed to avoid the fear of not succeeding. Yeah, I agree with you. Nigeria, in spite of all, there is to say, the negativity, because we love our country, we are still here.
Exactly.
And then we should try our best, first and foremost, be the man in the mirror. If you change yourself, others will change. I completely have that.
Let me just add, I know I've had my say, but let me quickly add that, what I saw in the Tiger Woods story was the fact that even if you can't focus on anything else, because you may look here and you find one reason not to do something, but you have something, there's something you have that you can believe in, even if everybody else is going crazy.
Like Martin Luther King said, if you are a street sweeper, be the best street sweeper. Correct. That when you die, let your Peter be. Here lies the greatest street sweeper. Yeah. That after he's dead, nobody could sweep the street somewhere.
You can't get
I think
two
the
best
whole
street sweepers though.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
I think the whole Tiger Woods thing, what I'd like to take away, or what I take away from it is, and I get where you're coming from, although
There are questions for me about Tiger Woods, which I
Please,
think,
raise
which I
them.
don't. Well,
Okay, you
I'll
don't want
raise
us
it
to get
later.
distracted.
But yeah,
Yeah.
and I don't want to get distracted. So I don't want to
Into
bring
his,
it up
conquest,
first.
yeah.
So tenacity, conviction, overcoming difficulties, and persistence. I think that's what got him through where he is. And if there's one thing we've always known about the person that's Tiger Woods, from the minute, even from when his father, Earl Woods, started teaching him, that was the one thing he had. He always had that belief. At the age of 14, this boy already said, I am going to win the Masters, and he won the Masters at 21, 22 or whatever.
Right.
So it's about that personal conviction. Now, you get lots of people, much as I like what they said in your school, but if you, Liboros, didn't have it within you, it
Yeah.
just
There'll be
have been
many
words.
people who went to school.
So it's about that. It's
Just
about
like the pledge.
Yes, just like the pledge. I think each one of us have to dig within us. And like you said, you can't have two best street sweeper, but if I see that Kane sweeping the streets better than me, I can make a Kane my marker, right? Not to compete, but as a thing to succeed and say, you know what, I'm going to do it as good as her or
I
better,
want to be better
than
than
her.
Kane.
Do you understand? And I think that's what I find. But the other side of Tiger Woods, and I have to say very quickly, is I have an issue with him with regards to, you mentioned community. His sense of community, actually, I think is missing a great deal. This is a man, you remember when he won at the age of 21, 22, the black African Americans, they came out, they celebrated him.
Wanted to identify with him.
Because golf had always been one of the most racist sports in America. In fact, I think it was only up to 1975 or 76. They didn't have any black golfers, accepted in all the posh golf clubs. And a lot of black people, black men especially, play golf in America. So anyway, Tiger comes along, he's winning this thing, and you can imagine, African Americans, like we were saying,
want to own
slavery and all of that stuff, they were happy to have a hero. Like in Nigeria, when we see somebody doing well, we claim them as a, he comes out very quickly and he says, hang on a minute, I'm not all that black. By the way, I have this, and he comes up with a name called Cablasian, which is what he called himself. Well, guess what? The day he got caught by the police, what did they call him?
Black.
Black.
I mean, the only thing I would say, not that I agree, I mean, I agree to some extent to what you're saying, but perhaps it's to do with his character, because I also know that he disassociates himself from political affiliations. So he tries not to be political. He wants
well, race is biology, it's not politics.
I know, but just that psychology where you say you don't want to be tied down to one side or play one
race
side.
Is biology. You can appreciate, you can say I'm mixed race, but don't come out and say I ain't black like you.
I like the determination, the drive to succeed, the zeal, but you can take out the tiger from the woods.
Thank you.
And so, let's take out the tiger.
I'll end up with a Nigerian jungle.
Finally, I just want to say, I mean, Citizen X, I think we all are trying to succeed against the odds. But I think the reason why some of us succeed more so than others is that we're disciplined.
Yes.
And we also persevere.
Yeah.
The belief is granted. I don't think you can do anything without belief.
And tenacity.
But we have to be disciplined.
Against all odds.
That's something that many Nigerians are not.
Practice.
Yes. You practice and you believe in that tenacity.
I just feel it feeds into each other. If you believe in your gift, then you will be disciplined.
No, sometimes you can believe, but you don't want to.
That's it.
People lose very quickly.
Or you don't even want to put that much effort into it.
As a takeaway,
just naturally
there are
do it.
so many of you who are watching us and want to be like this in future.
Like
really,
us?
Frankly, yes.
Oh,
There's so
really?
many people
Actually blowing our own trumpets.
Yeah, no. I get calls. I get calls from friends, and they're like, "How come you're doing this and I'm not part of it?" Some people, some young
That's
people,
very true. I get
and some
that.
young people, come to me and say, "How can I be,
I get
like
that a
this
lot.
on TV?" If you don't have a camera in front of you, you can sit in front of the mirror and practice. And someday-
and also, Liboros, I think for the people like you and I who actually do give our time free on political analysis shows, people have to be ready to say, you're not always going to get paid.
Yeah, exactly.
And we didn't
that
get
thing that you have a passion for.
We have to stop that
Let it be free first.
We unfortunately we have to move on.
But you can hook up with them off camera. On social
Why are you
media.
excluding yourself?
No, to find out more about how you can be.
Okay, Uche is quietly stepping aside. Okay.
She's being Tiger Woods.
Okay. Have we made gluttons out of you yet? I'll say that again. Have we made gluttons out of you yet? No. It's time for the fifth course. Ireti will be dishing out a case of medical negligence after the break.
You're watching The Advocate on Plus TV Africa. Time to take on the licensed to kill. It would be hard to find one person in this country who has not been affected, directly or indirectly, by the tragic and regular pattern of medical negligence. Recently, my neighbor's wife was admitted to a big-name hospital in Lagos for what was termed routine myomectomy. That's the removal of fibroids to you and I. The appointment had been pre-booked, nothing special. She was due to be in and out of the hospital 48 to 72 hours max. My neighbor's wife was beautiful, sweet, and always had a smile on her face. I liked her very much. I would sometimes tease her to join me when doing my exercise in our compound. I know I must have seen her a couple of days before the operation, but I didn't know it would be the last time that I would see her. The procedure had taken place in one hospital, but when complications arose, she was moved to another hospital. She passed away in the second hospital. The shocking and disgusting aftermath of her death is that neither hospital were willing to take responsibility for her death. Without blaming each other, they simply presented what each felt was explanations that exonerated them from blame. I was angry then, and I'm still angry now. It's not news that such a tragedy in other countries would trigger a full investigation and possible prosecution. And if culpable, compensation, criminal charges, professional disqualification, and even in some cases, custodial sentence, or all of the above. But not so in Nigeria. So when is this going to stop? When are hospitals in Nigeria going to start taking the death of their patients more seriously? Where is the Nigerian Medical Council? Surely, murder is murder, whether it happens in an operating theatre or on the street. Who is going to save us from this menace of irresponsible doctors and hospital administrators who are simply bereft of human decency? It seems to me that some Nigerian doctors have forgotten the Hippocratic Oath mixed up with hypocritical acts.
I was going to say very quickly, because I'm expecting people to jump into this one, that I think it's multifaceted, really, in the sense that every one of us has probably been on the receiving end of medical negligence. You know,
at least know somebody that,
and some people are deliberately taking advantage of the fact that the system is messed up. Whereas there are others who are just frustrated by the fact that the system does not empower them to do the job properly. So you have poor training, poor facilities, and so they're having to deal with people who are at the verge of death with second-rate, equipment.
Third rate.
Yeah, or third rate, because I once had to go to hospital with my daughter, and what I saw there, the people who were littered there, if I were a doctor, I would just want to run away from all of that, because there's no way you can give those people the attention they deserve.
Sense of responsibility,
but on the other side of it, the other experience I had very quickly was that you had people who were there, nurses, and this doesn't cost money, and they were treating people like us who came like 6 o'clock, because they'll tell you to come very early, like animals. They were saying, get out, move. I had to stop and say, who are you talking to? Can't you show a little compassion, even if not as a nurse, as a human being? Why are you talking to me? Then the person said, sorry, because maybe...
sorry, can I have to interrupt you? That's not the medical negligence I'm talking about.
No, but it's even the care. It's even the duty of care. But it's an attitude. It's an attitude that feeds into the way you care for.
You have bad nurses who are cold in other parts of the world.
No, but I'm trying to say,
what I'm
there's
saying
a callousness.
People die in Nigeria as a result of negligence in Nigeria, and we're not taking them to court.
There's a callousness. I'm trying to link the two, because there's a callousness that feeds into the system. Even the doctor that treated me was trying to take advantage of me, getting me to buy more than it's only the doctor that warned me and said, this guy is asking you for a box of gloves you're going to pay for. You only need 1 pair. So I had to change what. So they're taking advantage. They don't see themselves as beholden to you to look after you. They don't see that duty of care.
Because we're not taking them to court. That's what I'm saying. That's responsibility.
Yeah, so the reason the medical practitioners absolve themselves from full responsibility is because they can. When you're faced with, poor equipment or or dodgy drugs or not enough of the right drugs, they know that they can get away with anything.
I think maybe it's really shaking his head. I think this is it's semantics. I know what you're trying to say, but you're saying the wrong thing.
Yeah.
You're
Okay,
saying
what am I saying?
You're saying that they can hide behind
No,
the system. In law, but I know what you mean. In law, they can't.
I'm saying the
but
reason,
in life, that's why they're doing.
What I'm saying is that the reason
that's why I want the
I don't
law
have a
to come in.
generator
No.
that works.
I think we're misunderstanding each other. I'm not saying they are right to do what they do, but I'm saying that they feel
have a
like
defense.
they have a defense.
You're saying the same thing.
Now you've said it properly.
I
That
actually
they feel
think,
they have
because my thing is about the law, because I do believe until
they
one
don't see, you
hospital.
see,
until that law.
the problem,
Yes.
the problem actually is us. I'm telling you.
Lawyers or the rest of us.
All of us.
You know he won't be saying lawyers.
All of us.
We don't fight.
Recently, you know, I went to bury
That's
an
right,
uncle
yes.
who died negligently.
You see?
He was okay. I was discussing with him on the phone, only for him to tell me, just hang on a minute. The nurse is here to give me injection. And then the next thing they said, they started jerking. And do you know, I pleaded with the family to petition that hospital.
Yes.
Yeah, they were.
And the family said, will that bring him back?
Thank you.
And they'll say it's
But
the will
if
of
we
God.
petition the hospital, at least that will stop,
Make them sit up.
Absolutely.
you know, others from dying
Absolutely.
carelessly.
Oh, absolutely.
Just the same way we don't conduct autopsy.
Yes.
Autopsy
Yes.
is the dead advising the living.
Yes, that's right.
It's the same way
It is.
we
That's
do
what it is.
not, right, when these things happen, after burial and everything, we say, God give it, God take it.
Yeah.
You know, we end it with, it is God's will. Meanwhile, somebody somewhere who is not even qualified in the first place to be a nurse is there.
He's responsible.
There was a petition.
Sorry, let me
recently.
make the case so you can respond to it immediately. One of the cases I came across, the people, they said the man had lost his wife after a cesarean. And he said the reason he didn't go ahead and petition was because the grief of losing the wife was already heavy enough on him. And he felt that her mother couldn't cope with the strain of now revisiting all that through courts that he wasn't
But
sure.
you know what?
So at the end of the day,
and this is what I'm going to ask you as a lawyer. I get that, but I'm also asking, is there a statute of limitation for when they can...
No statute
There
of
isn't.
limitation.
So that it would be good after your grief and then do it
and
later.
so what should happen? I remember a friend's wife who died also
they should be
at
advised
the
that
general
way.
hospital. And then I called them at the meeting and I told everybody, I said, look, let us do something. Let us use this to stop, this practice.
It's like a legacy.
Some doctors there said at the end of the day, some people will lose their job.
But you
Medical
that's the thing, that's
doctors.
annoying. Why shouldn't they lose their
But you
jobs?
also think that this might create a problem where if you're suing hospitals and you now bring in somebody with a problem and then they decide, you know what, we won't even touch.
No,
it.
don't touch. It is better you don't touch.
Okay, good one, Uche. And I was coming to that when I was talking earlier.
You might put more hospitals
Chuka wants
on
to
edge
respond to that.
than,
It is. You see, let me tell you, you find out that there are so many hospitals who ordinarily shouldn't be practicing.
Precisely.
Now, what I was going to say earlier was that why don't we admit we don't have hospitals or doctors?
Yes.
And then if I'm going to die in my house silently, let me just die and nobody will be held for negligence or anything. That's what I was going to say.
Okay, but I was also going to come in and say just very quickly also that Libros advised me, I think this is what I remember, the law also protects doctors to some extent. The standard, the burden of proof is higher. It doesn't allow you to just find a doctor guilty because of this very reason. They don't want doctors to practice defensive medicine. So it's not like it's going to be easy to make that case anyway.
They have medical boards. They have disciplinary boards. If you do petitions to this board, I've had cases where disciplinary boards, medical disciplinary board will sit and decide cases and even withdraw license in Nigeria here.
Precisely.
But they can't take these steps if you do not report. Because when you write the petition, in some cases they might be frivolous because you really don't know what happened. And then let the doctor also, come out to state, what happened. But instead of just letting it go, because in some cases it might not be negligence on their part. In some it is actually negligence.
And that's why it's important to have that full investigation.
But you mentioned even in the last advocate, one of the advocates we did, that across the board we tend to be reluctant to do these things.
And this is why we need to find the courage. And of course we understand that the family of the dead are burdened by grief. But after that, we do need people like you and I, because I did speak to my neighbor about, you know what?
Let's
see
do
if you can
something.
do something.
And will he?
But I don't know. I don't want to speak for him.
It's too early right now, isn't it?
Yes, and it is early because it's only recent. Okay. You know what they say? Time flies when you're having a deep discussion. The good news is the fun continues on our social media pages on Twitter @PlusTV Africa #TheAdvocateNG, and on Facebook and Instagram on Plus TV Africa, #TheAdvocateNG. We love hearing from you. Till next week, same time, same place, we'll be bringing you more important topics of debate. Bye-bye.
Welcome to The Advocate, a program that thrashes out all the topical issues of the day.
When you are in government, you don't see nothing wrong with whatever is happening. The moment you are out there, everything is wrong.
You can't even see many women now, and when they're there, they're not even really making a mark, and then they have an NYSC problem and this and that.
One of the reasons why we don't have more women in politics in Nigeria is for as long as political meetings continue to take place in the middle of the night.
Exactly.
Really disastrous for a president
to even say
be unaware of the chief
It's
justice.
a ploy.
It could be a strategy.
That strategy was
backfired.
very terrible strategy. Because the buck stops at your table.
Whether it's that we don't look after our cities, and quite frankly, Nigeria is becoming a very ugly place.
When you are the only one feeding the people with this news and there is nobody countering them, it becomes, the news.
Hello and many thanks for joining us on News on the Hour on Plus TV Africa. My name is Felicity Ezewi. Here are some of the stories making the headlines. President Muhammadu Buhari can govern the country from anywhere in the world so long as his absence is for a short period and does not need to inform the National Assembly. The senior special assistant to the president on media and publicity, Garba Shehu, who made the assertion in response to an inquiry on the issue, further referenced Section 145, subsection 1-2 of the 1999 Constitution to make a defense for Buhari. According to him, the president was still exercising authority while in the UK, since his absence would be for 10 days and not up to 21 days, which would then have constituted a breach of the Constitution. The president left the country on Thursday last week in what the presidency described as a private visit. Elections into local government councils in Bayelsa State will hold on July 27, 2019, and this is according to Dr. Perekeme Batola, chairman of the state's Independent Electoral Commission. Batola, who announced this during a stakeholders meeting on Saturday in Yenagoa, promised that the elections would be free, fair, credible and conclusive. He promised that the commission would hold regular consultative meetings to ensure a hitch-free election exercise. Bayelsa has 8 local government chairmanship slots and 105 councillorship seats. The Southeast Caucus of the All Progressive Congress, APC, has demanded a review of the zoning arrangement ahead of the inauguration of the 9th National Assembly. The zone took the stand during a stakeholders meeting held in Enugu on Saturday. In a 7-point communique issued after the meeting, they called on the national leadership of the party to revisit the subsisting zoning of principal officers in the 9th Assembly in a more equitable manner that will accord more deserving positions to the Southeast Zone, considering that the Federation of Nigeria rests on the 6 geopolitical zones of Southeast, South-South, Southwest, North Central, Northeast and Northwest. The APC-NWC had earlier zoned the speakership of the House of Representatives to the Southwest and the Senate President to the Northeast, while Deputy Senate President goes to the South-South, leaving out the Southeast. Normalcy has returned to Gombe State and its environs after the imposition of a 15-hour curfew on the city by the state government in response to the prevailing security situation in the area. The state government had imposed the curfew on the city on April 27 at about 3 p.m. It, however, relaxed the order on Sunday after due consultation with security agencies in the state. Earlier, we were joined by a former director at the State Security Services who reviewed the state of security in the country.
Well, I think we are seeing the results of an accumulated problem that has not been addressed for a very long time. The level of unemployment, the level of poverty, especially in the north, especially in the northeast and the northwest, has come to the head whereby some of these, should I call them alamajiris and other kinds of people that were not going to school have decided to stop begging and pick up arms to get their own piece of the national cake.
You mentioned the situation in the northern part of the country.
Yes.
There seemed to be a peculiar security situation in select states of Gombe, Zamfara, Kaduna, and Borno. Can you speak on this? What could be the peculiarity of the security situation, and are the security agencies addressing the issue as it should?
Well, Zamfara is a state that is, should I say, is an ungoverned state. You know, there are a lot of ungoverned spaces in this country, and then of course that is ungoverned spaces in the sense that you don't have any presence of security around, and a lot of people are just running around using all kinds of arms and ammunition they can get hold on. And of course the mining that has been going on, especially in Zamfara, where people are cutting away gold, very, very expensive minerals, you know, out of the country. And they feel that they have to take part in this collection of tolls, because for those people who are taking them out, if you are passing through, you have to pay toll, otherwise you don't go anywhere. You know, and then of course they know that there's a lot of money that is going out of the place, and the cartels are there to sometimes even take off from other people that have mined it. You go to Borno, of course we have the Boko Haram situation there, and it's been very, very, for 9 years now, we've been fighting that, and then you find out that poverty and grown-up, able-bodied men without jobs, you know. I think that that kind of situation where you impose curfews, curfews are basically imposed to mop up, you know, whatever criminal activities that are going on, especially at night. But 24 hours, yeah, they might be able to pursue some of the criminals out of the place, but in the short term, you know, in the long term, it does not solve any problem. It will not, you know, because these people are still there. And as soon as they see that the security agents are relaxed, they come back again.
Former Inspector General of Police Solomon Arase has alluded to the fact that hundreds of additional policemen will be needed to implement and sustain the new 8-hour shift work ordered by the Acting Inspector General of Police, Mohammed Adamu. According to the ex-police chief, the new shift arrangement might demand hiring about 300,000 additional officers. A former director at the State Security Services, Dennis Omachere, who spoke earlier on the news, says the new shift also shares same thoughts.
The 8-hour shift, just like the former IG had said, will not be. They will not be able to achieve that with the number they have. The Nigerian police force is about just a little bit less than 400,000 in the whole in our whole country of 200 million, almost 200 million people. So you find that's why we have ungoverned spaces. The security or the law enforcement agents are thinly spread. They are not covering everywhere. You know, so most of them have been assigned to politicians. Most of them are assigned to some high net worth individuals. You see them in banks. So the number that is actually on ground to do criminal justice system is not much. So I think they have to recruit, because this number is not enough for them to carry out that.
Your quick thoughts on the suggestion that stun guns should be used for intercity police officers?
Stun guns are good, non-lethal. Those are non-lethal weapons, but also you must train people to use them. You know, you must train people to use them. It is not a situation where I will discharge some volts of electricity into somebody and throw him down on the ground. And if you don't do it properly, the person can sue you because you don't go ahead and use or try it on people. Because, like I said, training is key. If you don't train somebody to handle any kind of weapon, the person will not, they will misuse it.
Before I let you go, Nigerian security agencies have been accused of being deficient when it comes to intelligence gathering, which is key to solving crimes. What's your thought on this?
Well, I disagree. I'm from the intelligence community myself, and I think a lot of intelligence have been gathered in this country and being disseminated. But again, there is one thing with intelligence, of which I have personal experience, where I can gather intelligence, and if you are the consumer and I give you the intelligence, it depends on you on how you use it. On how you use it. You can decide to use it, and you can decide to discard it. You know, and you can discard it for many reasons, especially to politicians. You give intelligence to politicians, sometimes they use it, sometimes they don't want to use it because of political reasons or religious reasons. So, if there is a lack of usage of intelligence, it's not because of a lack of intelligence itself.
A medical expert has revealed that Nigeria may experience increased cases of cancer if necessary measures are not taken to address the situation. Speaking on our news earlier today, Dr. Tuyi, a public health practitioner, said the adoption of Western lifestyle may bring an increase in the number of cancer-related cases in the country if not checked.
Nigeria is undergoing what we call demographic health transition. As we get older, as we embrace Western lifestyles, we are going to see a lot of cancers, the leading ones, the breast cancers, the prostate cancers, the cervical cancer, and the gastrointestinal cancer, including that of liver and large intestine. So those things is going to increase. That will call for a lot of thinking in terms of how do you now ensure that these people can get proper treatment. Nigeria is having, a double attack in the sense that we're coping with communicable diseases on one side, and as well now have to fail with these chronic diseases like cancers, diabetes, and hypertension. So the dynamics are really falling on us heavily. Recently at the cancer regime, we see that we're having increase in number of cancers, and then in the next 2030, cancer will be one of the killers, one of the leading killers, 1, 2, 3, 4 killers, number 4 in this nation.
While praising the health sector, Dr. Tuyi lamented at the poor skill mix of personnel in the sector and was dismayed at Minister of Labour's comment Chris Ngige insinuating that Nigeria has enough doctors.
Very disturbing conclusion. Really, I'm sincerely very disturbing. It shows the quality of advice available to the president. These are the people that go and summarize things and give to the president. The president believes them because they are experts. It's a very disturbing thing, honestly, because one, no country in this world can boast of sufficient medical personnel, not even America. I did a course in human resources for health in Harvard, so I know exactly the distribution of human resources worldwide. Cuba is doing far better. Even America is having challenges. You have to find a way to recruit. Now, Nigeria has how many medical schools? How many people graduate from medical schools? In Nigeria, we have insufficient number of doctors. I know my number, having finished about 30 years ago as a medical doctor. I know my number, 16767. That's my number, permanent registration. Up to now, they've not gotten to 100,000. So where is he getting all this, doctor? Apart from the issue of immigration, attrition, and so many things, where is he getting this number of doctors? Nigeria does not have sufficient number of doctors. They don't have sufficient skill.
The public health practitioner applauded the first malaria vaccine in Africa rolled out in Malawi recently.
Malawi has a working immunization program. Nigeria does not have anyone. Secondly, Malawi has a good malaria control program. Nigeria.
He, however, advised the federal government to shift focus from malaria control to elimination.
Sri Lanka has moved away from malaria control to malaria elimination. But in Nigeria, we are still battling with control. Jamaica had moved to malaria elimination. We're still battling with control. Now, what the vaccine is going to do for us, if we can put our malaria control program in place, and also push our immunization program in place. What the vaccine is going to do for us is to help us move nearer to malaria elimination. Because, you see, our focus is to tokenism. It says that we're looking for control at this stage. We're not even pushing for elimination. So now, if we get the vaccine, that means that we can speed up the process of eliminating malaria from the...
We're going on a short break, and when we come back, the news continues. Stay with us.
Ṣẹ́gun fún mi. Ó ṣe mo dúpẹ́. Gbogbo ilé lọ ti tó gift. Mo rí ikọ̀ tún ni. Mo sọ fún ẹ lójoojúmọ́ pé gbogbo tó ń ṣe fún mi, ọmọ á ṣe fún ẹ nílọ́po. Abiyamọ ayé, abiyamọ ọ̀run, wọ́n súre fún ìbàjẹ́ kéré ó tóbi kò ní kún ẹ́. Ọmọ òní ní kò gbé tiwa kò ń gẹ̀jẹ̀. Ọmọ òní tí ẹ lọ síbi tó ò lérò. Ní gbogbo ọjọ́ ayé ẹ ò ní ríbi. Bí wọ́n bá ń pín wàhálà ìdààmú, ò tiẹ̀ ní rówó rà. Bẹ́ẹ̀ ni, ò ní kábàámọ̀. Ẹni tó máa bá ṣe tó máa kó bá ìgbé ayé ẹ kò ní bẹ́ẹ̀ rí, wọn náà ní bá rí. Ọmọ adùn ẹnu, àbùkù ò ní kàn ẹ́ o. Ayé ò ní rí ẹ mú o. Mo sọ fún ẹni tinútinú tọkùtọkù. Lọ́lá ọyọ̀ méjèèjì tó kú nígbà yà ni. Mo súre fún ẹ, eré àmú ẹ. Abiyamọ ayé, abiyamọ ọ̀run, wọ́n súre fún ẹ. Ó yẹ sáré gbé bàbá wọlé, ó ti ṣú ara, ó ti tọ́ ara, kò ní jẹ́ tiẹ̀. Wọnú ògo tuntun lọ, Olúwaṣẹ́gun. Wọnú ògo tuntun lọ. Ó yá wọnú ògo tuntun lọ. Wọnú ògo tuntun. Ẹlẹ́dàá mi.
Mami, airtime yín kọ́.
Ṣé ìwọ ti rókun tó gbẹ̀rí? O ti rí ọ̀sà kó gbẹ̀rí? Kò lè gbẹ́ ń bì.
Àmímà.
Àwọn ò lè ń sọ̀rọ̀ bẹ́ẹ̀.
Lórí àtàwọn ọ̀rẹ́ mi.
Àwọn ọ̀rẹ́ ó yá fi sí spíkà.
Wọ́n ń gbọ́ yín.
Ní ẹ̀bùn ńlá tọ́mọ mi gbé wá fèmí yìí. Ọlọ́run á ràn yín lọ́wọ́, ẹ̀yin náà lè ṣerú ẹ̀ fáwọn.
Get 10 times your recharge value to call and browse anyhow. Recharge with *220 star the pin hash to enjoy this offer. Available to new and existing subscribers.
Mr. Anansa, èmi ń gbàdúrà, ìwọ ń polówó ọjà, ìwọ náà borí ẹ̀ wá kó wá gbàdúrà. Bẹ́ẹ̀ ni, á dáa fún ẹ. Ṣé orí bó ti ń tajà fẹ́ lòmíì? Àwọn máa sìn ìwọ náà àdìrú wà dìgbà, ayé àdára, ò ní dààmú.
Airtel, the smartphone network.
You're watching News on the Hour on Plus TV Africa. Mozambican officials on Saturday urged those living near two rivers in the country's north to move to higher ground as Cyclone Kenneth dumped heavy rains and caused some flooding. The cyclone killed 5 people and flattened homes around Mozambique's northern coast before moving inland and pounding the province of Cabo Delgado with rain. Fueling fears rivers could burst their banks and leave huge areas underwater. The National Directorate of Water Resources Management said the Megaruma River had registered a marked increase in volume, causing some flooding in riverside and low-lying areas in the districts of Mekufe and Chiore, south of the provincial capital of Pemba. The news continues after this short break.
Honey!
Daddy, please, can I go out with you and Mommy tonight?
Sure thing, sweetie. Get your shoes and we go.
Promise?
You have my word?
Daddy!
You know I wouldn't leave without you, my princess.
There's nothing more important than a promise. We are Fidelity. We keep our word.
U.S. President Donald Trump pressed Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe to have Japanese automakers produce more vehicles in the United States, according to a readout of their recent meeting provided by the U.S. ambassador to Japan on Saturday. The two discussed recent public announcements by Japanese car makers, including Toyota Motor Corporation's decision to invest more in the U.S. plants. Trump told a campaign rally in Green Bay, Wisconsin on Saturday that Abe said Japan would invest $40 billion in U.S. car factories, though Trump did not give details on a timeline for the planned investments. The ambassador also added that Trump is optimistic trade talks with China would be successful.
Many decades we've been losing tens of billions of dollars to China and Japan and India and name any country, and we lost. But we're not losing anymore. And I said, listen, we got to do something. $68 billion in trade losses over the last 4 or 5 years, a year. So we're renegotiating. And I think he'll be fair. I think he'll be fair. And by the way, he started by saying that he's putting $40 billion into the United States for new car factories. Toyota's coming in with $14 billion. Many companies are coming in. And they're coming in, frankly, to Michigan. They're coming back. They want to be back to Ohio, to Pennsylvania, to North Carolina, South Carolina, Florida. And what's the name of this special place? It's called Wisconsin.
Up next is our business news.